We live in a world that glorifies control. We're taught to hold on tightly to our plans, our identities, our relationships, and even our pain, because letting go feels like losing. But what if the opposite were true? What if surrender wasn't a sign of weakness, but the gateway to true strength? The paradox of surrender is that by loosening our grip, we don't lose, we gain. We gain clarity when we stop forcing outcomes. We gain freedom when we release what no longer serves us. We gain connection when we stop trying to control others. And most importantly, we gain peace when we stop fighting against life and start flowing with it. In The Strength of Surrender, written and published by Mindful Literary, we'll explore how letting go of control, fear, expectations, and even parts of ourselves can lead to profound transformation. This isn't about passivity or giving up. It's about stepping into a deeper trust with life itself. Throughout this audiobook, you'll learn why control is an illusion and how it limits our growth, how surrender leads to resilience, creativity, and success, the art of trusting the unknown and embracing uncertainty, the role of surrender in healing, relationships, and personal growth. Surrender is an act of courage. It asks us to trust in something bigger than ourselves, to embrace life as it unfolds, and to find strength not in resistance, but in release. If you've ever felt exhausted from holding on too tightly, if you've ever struggled with letting go, or if you're ready to experience life with more ease, this book is for you. Are you ready to discover the power in surrender? Let's begin. Introduction: The Paradox of Letting Go. There was a time when I felt like I was on the brink of losing everything. I had invested years into a project, pouring every ounce of energy and passion into it, convinced that my efforts alone would determine its success. As deadlines loomed and obstacles piled on, I tightened my grip on the reins, determined to steer my vision through the chaos. Late nights became the norm, and the stress climbed higher each day. Then, during one particularly overwhelming week, I hit a wall. I was exhausted, frustrated, and at a standstill. In a moment of sheer desperation, I made the difficult decision to let go of my need for control. I reached out for help from friends and colleagues, opening myself to their suggestions and insights. It felt both scary and liberating. The minute I surrendered, a wave of relief washed over me, paving the way for fresh ideas and perspectives. Suddenly, what seemed like insurmountable problems began to dissolve as teamwork and creativity sparked new solutions. That moment of surrender changed everything for me, transforming a stagnant situation into a collective triumph. Reflecting on that experience, I've come to realize how my understanding of strength and vulnerability evolved. In our society, we often equate strength with control, believing that if we hold tightly to our plans, we can handle any challenge. Yet, it was in my moment of surrender that I discovered true strength lies in vulnerability, being open to the unknown and trusting others. Letting go of my desire to control allowed not just my project, but also my relationships to flourish. When I acknowledged my limitations and accepted help, I found a deeper connection with those around me. It was an enlightening revelation. Embracing vulnerability didn't make me weak. It actually empowered me to be more authentic and receptive to life's twists and turns. Embracing surrender can be a powerful tool in your own journey. Consider a situation in your life where you may be holding on too tightly. What would it mean to release that grip and invite others into your process? Surrendering does not mean giving up. Rather, it opens doors to collaboration, innovation, and unexpected breakthroughs that often surpass our own vision. Sometimes, what we perceive as loss can lead to incredible growth. Every day, I navigate a world filled with uncertainties that can feel overwhelming at times. This instinct to seek control is woven into the very fabric of who we are. It's an innate response, a primal reaction that stimulates our desire for predictability in an unpredictable environment. When faced with life's unpredictabilities, like sudden career changes, health issues, or personal challenges, we often find solace in routines and plans. This quest for control helps to create a sense of order amidst chaos. It's as if we believe that by holding on to these threads of control, we can weave a safety net around us, shielding ourselves from the unpredictable elements that life throws our way. Yet, this desire for control can become an obsession. We convince ourselves that if we just plan meticulously enough, we can steer our lives in the direction we desire. However, such an approach often leads to frustration when reality doesn't align with our carefully constructed plans. The truth is, the more we cling to these illusions of control, the more susceptible we become to anxiety and disappointment. This realization hit me when I found myself fixated on the minutiae of my daily life, only to discover that a single unforeseen event could obliterate weeks of careful planning. The unpredictability of life is as inevitable as the changing seasons. Acceptance of this truth allows us to face the unknown with a sense of peace, rather than fear. Societal pressures intensify our craving for control, pushing us into this relentless chase for certainty. Every time I flip through social media, I see curated lives that seem effortlessly perfect, leaving me to grapple with my own imperfections. The unrelenting comparison magnifies my desire to seize control over my life's narrative. It's as though society has set a standard that we must fit into, and when we fail to do so, the feeling of chaos in our lives can be overwhelming. The pressure to meet these obligations, whether at work, in our personal lives, or through social interactions, heightens our stress and the need for control. It's crucial to understand that while we may not be able to control everything, we can control how we react to the challenges that come our way. Embracing flexibility and learning to adapt can be our saving grace in this unpredictable world. Engaging in mindfulness practices, such as meditation and journaling, can also empower us to find comfort in uncertainty. We must allow ourselves to be human with all the imperfections that accompany this existence, and shift our focus from a desperate struggle for control to fostering resilience and openness in the face of change. Surrendering often feels like stepping into the unknown, a leap of faith away from the safety net of control we cling to. Yet, within this uncertainty lies a profound opportunity for growth and transformation. In the chapters ahead, I invite you to explore this expansive journey with me, one where the discomfort of letting go leads to the liberation of finding our true selves. This book serves as a companion, offering guidance through the winding roads of surrender, revealing insights, personal anecdotes, and practical strategies designed to help you navigate the challenges of relinquishing control. Imagine a life where you embrace the ebb and flow of existence rather than fighting against it. This journey will lead us to a deeper understanding of what it means to let go, to trust, and ultimately to thrive. Redefining our perspectives on strength and vulnerability is crucial in this process. Society teaches us that power lies in our ability to dominate and control, yet true strength often emerges in moments of vulnerability where we allow ourselves to surrender. When we let go of the need to control every aspect of our lives, we create space for real strength to flourish. This strength is not loud or aggressive. It is quiet, resilient, and deeply rooted in authenticity. I have discovered that the most impactful transformations occur when I allow myself to be vulnerable, embrace uncertainty, and recognize that surrender is not defeat, but a step toward holistic growth. By challenging our assumptions about power and control, we cultivate a mindset that recognizes courage in vulnerability and strength in acceptance. Throughout this exploration, I encourage you to reflect on your own experiences with surrender. Are there areas in your life where you feel burdened by the weight of control? Consider ways you might let go, even in small moments. Perhaps it's allowing yourself to feel emotions fully, trusting others with your thoughts and feelings, or releasing expectations of yourself and your circumstances. Each act of surrender can be a step toward a more fulfilling existence. Remember, the journey of letting go is not a solitary one. We are all in this together, intertwining our stories of vulnerability and strength as we search for deeper fulfillment in the art of surrender. The paradox: the more we try to control, the more we lose. The more we surrender, the more we gain. Throughout my life, I've often found myself trapped in what I now call the control cycle. It begins with an intense desire to steer circumstances, whether it was a relationship, a career decision, or even my own emotional responses. In the beginning, it felt exhilarating to think that all I had to do was tighten my grip on various aspects of my life, and everything would unfold according to my plan. Yet, the more I sought to control everything around me, the more I realized how slippery those reins could be. The tighter I held on, the more resistance I faced, and paradoxically, I found myself losing ground. This cycle of control never seemed to yield the results I desired. Instead, it led me to anxiety and frustration. Time and again, I returned to the same patterns, convinced that if I just adjusted my strategy or tightened my grip a little more, everything would work out. But each attempt felt like trying to hold water in my hands. Control offered diminishing returns, and it became evident that an illusion was at play. As I began to explore stories from others who had faced similar struggles, I was captivated by the power of surrender. I met a woman who had spent years trying to control her career trajectory. She meticulously planned each step, only to find herself both miserable and burnt out. Eventually, after much reflection, she decided to let go of that rigid framework, opening herself to unexpected paths. She started exploring interests and opportunities that didn't fit her original plan, which ultimately led her to a fulfilling career that felt more aligned with her true self. It was through relinquishing control that she discovered new possibilities she had never imagined. Another friend of mine talked about his journey with relationships. Each time he sought to control the dynamics or the outcome, he ended up pushing people away. It was only when he allowed himself to be vulnerable and accept uncertainty that he built deeper, more meaningful connections. In their stories, I found inspiration and insight into my own life, realizing that surrender often leads to unexpected gains. The more we let go, the more we open ourselves up to life's abundant possibilities. In unfolding my own narrative through these insights, a practical thought emerges. Try approaching life with curiosity instead of control. When faced with uncertainty, see it not as a threat, but as an invitation to explore. Who knows what hidden treasures await beyond the tight grip of our expectations? Embracing the unknown might just reveal pathways and joys we've been too afraid to pursue. Chapter 1. What does it mean to surrender? Surrender as an act of trust, not defeat. Surrendering often feels like a submission to the chaotic currents of life. It seems at first like admitting defeat, laying down your arms in a battle you struggled to win. Yet as I navigated my own experiences, I realized that surrendering is not about losing. It's about trusting the process. Instead of fighting against the unpredictable tides, I learned to allow myself to float. That flotation represents an immense leap of faith, a trust in something greater than my immediate understanding. When I stopped trying to control every outcome, I discovered the beauty that unfolds when we let go. The difference between passive resignation and active surrender. Understanding the difference between passive resignation and active surrender is crucial for anyone navigating the complexities of life. Resignation often feels like a heavy cloak we wear, shrouding us in a sense of defeat and hopelessness. It's that moment when we throw up our hands, convinced that whatever struggle we face is beyond our control. Thoughts swirl in our minds, whispering, "What's the point?" This state is paralyzing, a passive acceptance of circumstances where we relinquish our power, and in doing so, trap ourselves in a cycle of discontent. In contrast, surrender is an act of courage. It is not about giving up, but about acknowledging what is beyond our influence. When I reflect on moments of true surrender in my life, I remember the shift that occurs within. Instead of accepting defeat, there's a conscious decision to let go, to release the tension of my expectations, and to embrace uncertainty. Surrender invites a dialogue with the universe, rather than a resignation to it. It opens a path where we respond to the present, not with apathy, but with openness and flexibility. Embracing active surrender means diving into the process rather than retreating from it. It is a deliberate choice to engage with our emotions, our fears, and our hopes. Letting go becomes an active process when we reflect on what we cling to, considering why we hold these attachments so tightly. It's an invitation to explore our inner workings, addressing the thoughts that anchor us to past disappointments or futures we cannot control. I found that this engagement can be as simple as journaling my feelings, transforming confusion into clarity, frustration into learning. By actively participating in the act of surrender, we begin to see it as a journey rather than a destination. Each moment of letting go can be viewed as an opportunity to grow, to learn, and even to celebrate the unknown. This engagement allows us to reclaim our sense of agency while also accepting a broader perspective on life. Life has a way of unfolding events that often leads us to unexpected paths. If we can practice active surrender, we cultivate resilience and find strength that was previously buried under layers of fear and uncertainty. A valuable tip for initiating this process is to start small. Identify one area of your life, be it a relationship, a job, or a personal goal, and consciously choose to surrender your immediate attachment to its outcome. Notice how it feels to release the need to control everything. This practice can introduce a sense of ease and openness, paving the way for deeper transformation in both your mindset and your life. Why surrender requires courage and strength, not weakness. Letting go is often perceived as a sign of defeat, yet for many, it has been the turning point that ignited their inner strength. Take, for example, a friend of mine named Sarah. She spent years clinging to a job that drained her spirit, yet the fear of uncertainty kept her rooted in place. It was only when she faced a challenging moment, a sudden job loss, that she discovered courage she never knew she had. In the weeks that followed, rather than succumb to despair, she chose to surrender to the situation. This act of letting go opened doors she never imagined. Through open discussions with others and a deep dive into her passions, she found a new career that not only fulfilled her, but also restored her self-esteem. Stories like Sarah's remind us that surrendering is not about giving up. It's about relinquishing control over what we cannot change and finding the strength to embrace new possibilities. The journey of surrender is often accompanied by an unexpected resilience. When we allow ourselves to truly let go, we create space for healing and rebirth. Reflecting on my own experiences, I remember a time when I faced a personal crisis that left me feeling vulnerable and lost. It was in that moment of despair that I discovered my inner strength. By acknowledging my fears and uncertainties, I began to listen to my heart instead of my anxious mind. This internal resilience emerged as I learned to differentiate between the things I could control and those I could not. Embracing this idea of surrender allowed me to rediscover my passions and reconnect with my loved ones, reinforcing the notion that sometimes strength is found not in clinging desperately to our situations, but in releasing them. True surrender is an act of bravery, a testament to the resilience we often overlook. We begin to see that it's okay to fall apart. From those fragments, we can rebuild ourselves, often stronger than before. Engaging with the act of surrender transforms our relationship with adversity. It demands a deeper understanding of ourselves and encourages us to uncover the courage that lies within. When we find ourselves at the brink of letting go, it helps to remember that the process isn't an admission of weakness, but rather an expression of profound strength. Embrace the discomfort that comes with surrendering and view it as a necessary step towards growth. In moments of uncertainty, remind yourself to be open to what life has to offer. This openness might just lead you down a path of unexpected joys and opportunities. Chapter 2. Why we resist letting go. The illusion of control. Why humans cling to certainty. Every day, we navigate a world filled with uncertainty and unpredictability. It's almost as if we are hardwired to seek out control, clinging to the belief that we can dictate our circumstances. This need stems from deep within us, rooted in our evolutionary past. Throughout history, survival often depended on our ability to predict outcomes and control our environment. Why would a cave dweller venture into unknown territory without a clear sense of what awaited them? They wouldn't, and this basic instinct still influences us today. We crave certainty because it provides a sense of safety. When faced with ambiguity, our minds can spiral into anxiety, and that discomfort pushes us to create illusions of control. We want to believe we have command over our fate, even when that grip is tenuous at best. This desire manifests in various ways. We analyze situations to death, poring over data, replaying scenarios, and crafting contingency plans. We convince ourselves that if we just plan enough, we can ensure a favorable outcome. Yet, the truth is that life often resists our meticulous designs. Our attempts to impose order on chaotic circumstances can lead us astray. We might become so entangled in our webs of certainty that we lose sight of reality, mistaking our beliefs for truth. This psychological phenomenon serves as a protective mechanism, even when it blinds us to possibilities beyond our narrow perspective. How fear, ego, and societal expectations keep us from surrendering. Fear often lurks in the shadows of our minds, dictating our actions and decisions, making surrender feel like an insurmountable task. I remember feeling this tension vividly when I faced a major life change. The unease flowed through me, whispering that if I let go, I would spiral into chaos. It became clear that fear of the unknown wrapped me in a familiar cloak of rigidity, pushing me to hold tightly to things that no longer served me. It is not just fear of failure or losing control. It's also the dread of being vulnerable and relinquishing what I believed to be my safety net. Each time I thought about loosening my grip, my mind conjured images of falling into an abyss. This internal struggle represents a common human experience, yet each person faces their fears in unique ways. Understanding this fear factor is crucial in recognizing how it leads to resistance, preventing us from letting go of outdated beliefs and behaviors. As I navigated these fears, I began to realize how my ego intertwined with societal expectations often kept me from embracing surrender. The need to appear strong, successful, and in control can easily morph into an unbearable weight. I recall an instance when I hesitated to share my struggles, shrouded in the belief that vulnerability would equate to weakness. Friends and acquaintances, absorbed in their own lives, seemed to embody the societal ideals that told me I must project success. My ego fed on this external validation, resisting any thought of being transparent about my vulnerabilities and imperfections. This clash between my authentic self and the persona I felt obliged to present tugged at my core, creating a rift that was hard to reconcile. Recognizing that ego flourishes in the soil of societal norms allows us to see how these expectations can actively inhibit our willingness to be vulnerable and let go. Understanding fear and ego's influence on our lives is only the beginning. Recognizing the possibility of surrender comes next. A practical tip to begin this journey is to practice self-compassion. It provides a safe space for embracing vulnerability, allowing us to acknowledge our fears and feelings without harsh judgment. Each time I feel the urge to resist change due to fear or ego, I remind myself that it's okay to be imperfect. By allowing myself to be human, I can slowly embrace the possibility of surrender, creating room for growth, healing, and a more authentic existence. The cost of resistance: stress, disconnection, and missed opportunities. The grip of control often feels comforting, a reprieve from the unpredictability of life. We think that holding on tight will secure our dreams and desires, but in reality, it often burdens us with stress. I remember a time when I was determined to manage every detail of my life meticulously. It wasn't long before I realized how those efforts drained me, leaving me weary and disconnected from the very people I wanted to impress. That insistent clinging to control can warp relationships, create anxiety, and invite a plethora of missed opportunities. My aspirations began to feel like shackles rather than wings. In the relentless pursuit of doing it right, I excluded spontaneity, creativity, and the organic connections that make life rich and fulfilling. The costs were hidden beneath the surface, but they manifested as sleepless nights, gnawing worries, and the growing realization that I was standing in my own way. When I began to let go, I discovered a world bursting with possibility. Surrendering control didn't mean giving up. Rather, it was an act of trust in the journey of life. I started to embrace uncertainty, finding beauty in unexpected turns. Opportunities that I had once overlooked emerged as I shifted my mindset. Instead of tightly holding the reins, I chose to explore new paths and ideas. This shift opened doors I never imagined were there. Friends who once felt like distant acquaintances became sources of inspiration. Ideas flowed freely, untouched by the constraints I had previously imposed. Surrender allowed me to reconnect with myself and others, enlightening me with the realization that the universe has a rhythm of its own, one that often harmonizes better than my own rigid plans. Each moment of letting go became an invitation to embrace life's spontaneity. I learned that stepping back, allowing life to unfold naturally, can unveil opportunities that we didn't even know we were searching for. The practical tip that emerged from this journey was simple: practice the art of asking, "What if?" Whispering this question allowed me to envision possibilities rather than pitfalls. By fostering curiosity rather than fear, I transformed resistance into resilience and discovered the beauty of being open to whatever lies ahead. The cost of resisting can be high, but the rewards of surrender can lead to a life rich with connections and unexpected joys. Chapter 3: The Power in Surrender. How surrender shifts us from fear to flow. Flow is that magical state where everything seems to click into place. It feels like time slows down and the world fades away as I become completely immersed in what I'm doing. It's a state of effortless engagement, where I lose track of time and feel both challenged and at ease. This state of flow has profound benefits. It enhances creativity, boosts productivity, and fosters a deep sense of fulfillment. When I experience flow, I feel more connected to my work and to myself. My best ideas often emerge in these moments, and tasks that once seemed daunting become a delightful dance, pulling me into a rhythm that is both exhilarating and soothing. Understanding flow is crucial because we all crave that sense of ease and engagement, yet, ironically, we often block ourselves from entering this state. The journey from fear to flow is one I know intimately. Fear can be a suffocating force, causing me to hesitate and second-guess myself at every turn. I've spent countless hours caught in that spiral of self-doubt, worrying about making mistakes or not living up to expectations. But I've discovered that surrendering to the moment can transform that fear into something beautiful. When I let go of my need for control and stop resisting what is, I find a surprising sense of freedom. In those moments of surrender, I allow myself to be present and authentic. It's as if I can finally breathe, and the pressure to perform fades away. This shift in mindset fosters a flow state because it opens the door to new possibilities. I become more receptive to inspiration and more willing to take risks. Instead of clinging to fear, I embrace the uncertainty of the journey. Through surrender, I free myself from the confines of expectation, allowing creativity and innovation to flourish. In essence, letting go allows me to flow, leading to profound transformation in both my work and my life. To experience flow more regularly, I've learned that it helps to create an environment that encourages surrender. This might mean setting aside distractions and carving out dedicated time for deep work, or simply giving myself permission to explore without a specific outcome in mind. Each time I step into that space of allowing, I inch closer to the flow I seek. The more I practice surrendering to the process rather than clinging to results, the more I notice opportunities surfacing where I once saw only obstacles. Real-life examples of how letting go opens doors to clarity and growth. In one of the most transformative journeys, I met Nora, a woman who had spent decades tied to a job that drained her spirit. She was a marketing manager, trapped in a corporate world that promised security but delivered little joy. One day, after a particularly exhausting week, she found herself sitting alone in a cafe, reflecting on her life. It was then that she made the profound decision to surrender to her true passions, art and travel. Nora sold her belongings, packed a small suitcase, and bought a one-way ticket to Europe. What began as an act of sheer desperation turned into an exhilarating exploration of her creativity and purpose. With each new city she visited, her sense of self expanded, and she rediscovered joy in painting and connecting with others who shared her passions. Then there's Marco, who faced a different battle. He had dedicated himself to building a successful tech startup, pouring every ounce of energy into it, only to have it fall apart. The stress was unbearable, and his health deteriorated as he struggled to hold onto what he thought defined him. In a moment of clarity, he realized that clinging to this shattered dream was preventing him from moving forward. Embracing surrender, he took a break from the relentless pursuit and allowed himself to explore other interests: gardening, cooking, and volunteering. Through this journey, Marco not only found new sources of inspiration, but also strategies for his next venture that were more aligned with his values. He learned that sometimes stepping back creates the space for innovation and reinvention. These stories illustrate a powerful truth: surrendering does not mean giving up. Instead, it expresses a willingness to release outdated attachments and embrace the unknown. Nora's leap into the world of art and travel led her to an unexpected community of fellow creatives, highlighting how letting go can usher in new experiences that revitalize the spirit. This clarity, born from her decision to prioritize what brought her joy, transformed her into a more fulfilled person. Similarly, Marco learned to redefine success. His experience teaches us that sometimes we must break the cycle of relentless striving to uncover what truly matters. He discovered that creativity can flourish in the quiet spaces of life, where the pressures to achieve dissolve. The insights from these narratives show that surrender can foster personal growth, helping us to align our actions with our genuine values and desires. Understanding the power of letting go can lead to profound clarity and growth. It's a reminder that life often unfolds in beautiful, unexpected ways when we allow it to. The next time you feel overwhelmed by your circumstances, consider what it might look like to embrace surrender in that moment. Ask yourself what you might gain by loosening your grip and exploring the possibilities of where that path might lead. The hidden strength of vulnerability and acceptance. Vulnerability often feels like a raw wound, a tender spot exposed to the harsh winds of judgment and criticism. Yet, as I have come to understand, it is also where genuine connection begins. When I think about vulnerability, I no longer see it as a weakness to be avoided. Instead, I see it as a powerful invitation to be real with myself and others. It takes courage to share our true selves, including our fears and imperfections. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we create an opportunity for deeper relationships. I've realized that it is through these moments of openness that we find community, acceptance, and ultimately strength. Redefining vulnerability as a source of strength has shifted my perspective on life's challenges. Being vulnerable means embracing uncertainty and imperfection. It means acknowledging that we are not alone in our struggles. Rather than hiding behind facades of invincibility, we let our shields down and show the world who we genuinely are. In this exposure, we often find that others resonate with our stories, and in sharing, we allow healing. I've encountered countless moments where admitting a shortcoming or a fear has drawn people closer. This simple act of vulnerability fosters an environment where others feel safe to share their own truths. When we step out of the shadows of shame, we discover the incredible power in simply being ourselves. Acceptance is often mistaken for resignation, yet it is anything but. Acceptance is power. It is the strength to face life's realities with courage and grace. Throughout my journey, I've learned that clinging to what should be, or what could have been, only leads to frustration. When I shift my focus to what is, I find clarity and purpose. Embracing my circumstances, no matter how challenging, allows me to navigate them with intention. It is in this acceptance that I've discovered profound resilience. Rather than battling against the tide, I've started to ride its waves. By acknowledging my situation without judgment, I've equipped myself with the ability to respond rather than react. This empowerment through acceptance has reshaped my interactions and decisions. The more I accept my flaws and the situations I face, the less energy I waste on denial or regret. I am learning to trust the journey, understanding that each setback may hold lessons that are essential for growth. Every time I accept my reality, no matter how uncomfortable, I feel a sense of liberation. It's a transformative process that can lead to personal empowerment. To truly harness the power of acceptance, I ask myself, what can I learn from this? Or how can I move forward with grace? Allowing these questions to guide me has opened doors I once thought were closed, and I continue to uncover strengths I never knew I had. Cultivating acceptance is not an endpoint. It's a journey toward embracing who I am and the life I lead. In both vulnerability and acceptance, I've discovered a remarkable truth. The more we let ourselves be seen, the more strength we find in our shared humanity. Whether confronting fears or accepting setbacks, consider each moment as an opportunity to deepen your connection with yourself and others. Next time you feel the weight of vulnerability or the challenge of acceptance, remember that both hold the seeds of strength. Allow yourself to explore this hidden power, and you might just uncover resilience that propels you forward. Chapter 4: Surrendering Control of the Outcome. Why fixating on results limits growth and creativity. My journey toward understanding the impact of being result-oriented was a revelatory one. At first, I was like many others, focused primarily on the finish line. Achieving my goals, whether in personal projects, career aspirations, or creative endeavors, consumed my thoughts. However, the more I rushed toward those outcomes, the more I began to notice the hidden costs that came with this fixation. Anxiety crept in as I equated my self-worth with tangible results. Each minor setback felt like a personal failure, and with each new challenge, my enthusiasm dwindled. Ironically, this relentless pursuit of success stifled my creativity and diminished my ability to embrace growth. The pressure to deliver results often led me to stick to familiar paths, fearing that experimentation might derail my progress. I became so focused on hitting targets day in and day out that I failed to recognize the beauty of the journey itself, thus limiting not only my creative capabilities, but also the richness of life experiences I was missing along the way. As I pondered these experiences, a shift began to occur in my perspective. I started to realize that focusing on the journey allowed for a deeper connection to my work. Each step, each moment of curiosity, and every iteration became significant in its own right. I learned to celebrate not only the milestones but also the smaller victories, the lessons gained from failures, and the discoveries made through exploration. When I shifted my mindset to appreciate the process over the results, I found myself more engaged and inspired. It became an invitation to innovate and explore without the fear of judgment. I started fostering an environment where creativity thrived, recognizing that the mistakes and challenges I faced were often the catalysts for breakthrough ideas. Focusing on the journey, I unlocked possibilities I never knew existed and found joy in the act of creating, independent of any end result. This journey is not merely about reaching a destination. It's about discovering who we become along the way. Embracing this notion has transformed my view on growth. Allowing myself the freedom to try, fail, and try again enriched not just my work, but also my life. A practical takeaway from this experience is to set aside time for reflection during your creative processes. Reflecting on your progress can help you appreciate the effort and improvements made rather than just the final outcomes. Keeping a journal of your thoughts, struggles, and triumphs can serve as a constant reminder that growth is often embedded in the detours we take, and ultimately, it is these detours that make the journey worthwhile. The art of detachment, focusing on effort, not outcomes. Detachment is a powerful concept that has transformed the way I approach my daily efforts. It reflects a mindset where one focuses on the process rather than fixating on the results. I remember a time when I poured my heart into a project, only to feel crushed when the outcome didn't meet my expectations. That disappointment lingered, overshadowing the immense effort I invested. However, as I began to understand detachment, I realized that every step I took towards my goal was valuable, regardless of the endpoint. It became clear that the true essence of success lies not in the accolades that might follow, but in the grit, perseverance, and learning that is cultivated along the way. This shift in perspective allowed me to appreciate my journey, empowering me to embrace challenges not just for their potential rewards, but as opportunities for growth. Cultivating detachment takes practice, but it can be deeply rewarding. One of the first strategies I found helpful was setting clear intentions. When embarking on a new project or goal, I began to focus more on what I wanted to learn or experience rather than fixating solely on the end goal. This not only alleviated the pressure, but also opened up avenues for creativity and exploration. Another impactful approach was mindfulness. Taking a few moments each day to reflect on my progress without judgment allowed me to let go of any preconceived notions of success or failure. I also realized the importance of celebrating small wins. Acknowledging my effort in little steps reinforced my commitment to the journey itself. Lastly, I learned to embrace imperfection. Accepting that not everything would turn out perfectly freed me to try new things, embrace failure, and most importantly, relish the learning that came from those experiences. Allowing myself to be guided by effort rather than outcome was revolutionary, and it's a practice I continually nurture. As you embark on your own journey of detachment, remember this: the beauty of your effort lies in the growth it fosters within you. Each moment spent working towards your goal, irrespective of the result, is a testament to your resilience and passion. How surrendering outcomes often leads to unexpected success. Letting go of the need to control every outcome can often lead to surprising discoveries. There was a time when my career felt stagnant, each day blending into the next like a painting lacking color. I was clinging tightly to the idea of a promotion, believing that achieving this goal would finally validate my efforts. Yet, the harder I tried, the more elusive it became. In a moment of frustration, I decided to step back. I began to focus on projects that inspired me rather than ones that aligned with a rigid definition of success. This shift opened new doors. Suddenly, opportunities one never anticipated started to arise, such as invitations to collaborate on creative endeavors that reinvigorated my passion for my work. By surrendering to the flow of my career, I found myself in a position I never imagined, but that felt immensely rewarding: a leadership role in a project that aligned perfectly with my interests. Embracing uncertainty can feel daunting, but when I contemplated the unpredictability of life, I recognized the beauty that lies within. There were moments in my life when things didn't go according to my meticulous plans. I canceled a trip filled with expectations, only to find myself serendipitously attending a small gathering where I met someone who would become a lifelong friend. That evening, sitting on a porch with strangers, laughter filled the air as stories were shared, each person's narrative weaving into a rich tapestry. In these moments, I learned to trust that what is meant for me will find its way, and sometimes the universe has plans far more exciting than anything I could construct in my imagination. Allowing life to unfold organically creates a deeper connection to the present, leading to experiences that change everything. When we relinquish our tight grip on outcomes, we not only give ourselves permission to explore the unknown, but also invite transformative change into our lives. As you navigate your own journey, consider the power of letting go. Each time you feel tempted to force an outcome, ask yourself what might happen if you simply release that hold. This simple act can transform your experience, opening your eyes to possibilities previously hidden beneath the surface. Chapter 5: Letting Go of the Ego. How the ego drives the need for control and validation. The ego often acts as a silent puppeteer, pulling the strings of our behavior in ways we might not fully understand. It's a complex blend of our self-esteem, identity, and how we perceive ourselves in the world. This intricate construct thrives on a need for control and validation, creating a cycle that can be difficult to escape. When we encounter situations that challenge our sense of self, the ego responds by grasping for control, believing that if we can manage our surroundings or how others see us, we can shield ourselves from feelings of inadequacy. I have found that this interplay is not just about a desire for authority. It's more about the fear of losing our identity or facing rejection. Instead of promoting genuine connections and experiences, the ego often leads us to establish barriers, seeking to validate our worth through external cues, whether it be accolades, possessions, or social standing. This quest can transform vibrant relationships into transactions, where love and acceptance are measured in amounts rather than qualities. Raising awareness is like flicking on a light inside a dark room. It illuminates the shadows where the ego thrives. By simply questioning our motives and the emotions that drive our actions, we begin to unravel the tightly woven fabric of control and validation. I have experienced this firsthand. Times when I caught myself reacting out of a need to assert dominance or seeking affirmation from others. In those moments of clarity, I realized that I was allowing my ego to dictate my responses instead of responding from a place of true self-awareness. Meditation, reflective writing, or even candid conversations with friends can shift our perspective and diminish the ego's influence. When we start viewing life through a lens of empathy and authenticity, we often find that the need for control fades, replaced by connection and understanding. Embracing vulnerability, rather than fearing it, can also lead to a deeper sense of freedom. It allows us to engage with ourselves and others without the weight of expectations, liberating us from the confines of ego-driven interactions. A practical way to begin this journey is to regularly practice self-reflection. Set aside time each week to think about your actions and feelings. Ask yourself what motivated your behavior and whether it stemmed from a place of self-acceptance or the need for external validation. By cultivating this awareness and understanding the subtleties of your ego, you can embark on a path to more genuine interactions and a more fulfilling life. Recognizing and releasing the stories we tell ourselves about identity. Our identity is often a tapestry woven from various narratives we tell ourselves throughout our lives. These stories shape our egos, informing how we see ourselves and how we believe others perceive us. They can empower us, or they can constrain us, often without us even realizing it. For instance, I frequently found myself identifying as a failure based on a handful of past mistakes. That story became a prison of sorts, dictating my actions and decisions. I remember walking into a room filled with accomplished individuals, feeling as if I was carrying a sign that read unworthy. This is the power of identity stories. They can either elevate us or weigh us down, framing our self-image in ways that may not reflect our true essence. Recognizing these narratives is the first step towards transformation. By acknowledging the stories we've inherited, those that stem from our upbringing, social context, and personal experiences, we begin to discern who we are versus who we believe we should be. This nuanced understanding leads to the possibility of revision. Understanding that I was not a failure, but rather a person who has experienced failure allowed me to shift my identity story towards one filled with resilience and growth. Instead of clinging to the past, I chose to see my journey as a series of valuable lessons rather than a series of blunders. Reshaping our self-stories involves a courageous act of reflection and acceptance. It requires us to challenge the narratives that no longer serve us, replacing them with ones that embody acceptance and compassion. Think of identity as fluid rather than fixed. It evolves and adapts over time. I learned to replace the label of failure with learner. This simple shift opened doors to growth and exploration that I had previously shut tight. When we allow ourselves the grace to revise our identity stories, we invite a deeper connection with our true selves, fostering a sense of belonging and purpose. A practical tip to start this journey is to write down your dominant identity stories. Then, for each story, ask yourself, is this serving me? If not, what narrative can I embrace instead? This exercise can illuminate pathways to a more empowering self-identity. The freedom in stepping beyond the I to embrace connection and authenticity. Understanding the essence of connection often requires us to step outside the boundaries of our individual selves. In a world that often celebrates individuality, I found a different truth. Real power lies in collective connection. When we allow ourselves to see beyond the I, we discover that our experiences, emotions, and thoughts can resonate with those of others. This realization initially struck me during a community event, where strangers shared their stories filled with pain, joy, aspirations, and fears. In those moments, I felt a shift. The layers of my ego began to peel away, revealing a vulnerability that connected me deeply to those around me. Yet, this journey toward connection is not without its challenges. Ego acts as a formidable barrier, convincing us that we need to be self-reliant or that our worth is tied to accomplishments. However, when I embraced the idea that my value thrives in unity rather than individuality, a profound sense of freedom emerged. I learned that vulnerability is not weakness. It is a bridge to authentic connections that bind us in our shared human experience. This collective consciousness welcomes us to navigate life together, reminding us that connection transcends self-interest. Embracing authenticity represents a personal journey, one that brings me face to face with my true self, stripped of pretense. I remember standing in front of the mirror, grappling with the dissonance between the person I portrayed and the individual I felt inside. It was daunting to acknowledge my fears and insecurities, yet it was essential for unlocking the door to genuine living. Each step into authenticity required me to confront societal expectations, which often dictate how we should behave or who we should become. In embracing these concepts, I learned that it is within the intersections of our stories that we find true connection. By stepping beyond the confines of ego and openly living our truths, we create an environment where authenticity flourishes. Consider exploring your own story. What parts of your journey have shaped you? Taking the time to reflect, share, and connect can uncover a depth of relationship and understanding that enriches not only your life, but also the lives of those around you. Chapter 6. Trusting the Unknown. Why uncertainty is the birthplace of possibility. Embracing uncertainty can feel daunting, yet it is this very uncertainty that often becomes the fertile ground for personal growth and opportunity. Life is inherently unpredictable, and while many of us cling to routine and certainty, real change emerges when we choose to lean into the unknown. In my own journey, I've learned that moments of uncertainty wield a transformative power that can reshape our paths. When we let go of rigid expectations and allow ourselves to navigate through unpredictability, we open up to new perspectives. In those moments, creativity flourishes as we explore new ideas and discover parts of ourselves we didn't know existed. It's a strange paradox. Embracing uncertainty can give rise to our most significant achievements. The willingness to step into the gray areas of life can lead to the most vivid bursts of clarity and inspiration. Every great achievement, from groundbreaking innovations to personal milestones, often originates from a leap into the unknown. Consider the inventors and pioneers who dared to imagine what seemed impossible. They operated in realms filled with uncertainty. Their success stories remind us that extraordinary accomplishments arise not from absolute certainty, but from bold decisions made in the face of ambiguity. When I reflect on my own experiences, I remember moments that felt overwhelmingly uncertain, yet each step forward was painted with possibilities that shaped my destiny. It was in those spaces, the unknown, that I discovered resilience and the courage to pursue dreams that felt out of reach. Embracing the unknown doesn't mean we are reckless. Instead, it invites us to take calculated risks, informed by intuition and faith in our ability to adapt. There is a valuable lesson in realizing that uncertainty is not a barrier, but rather a canvas on which our stories can be painted. Each person faces their own unique crossroads, and the beauty lies in the choices we make when the path ahead is unclear. Whether it's a career change, a move to a new city, or a leap into an unfamiliar passion, those decisions often lead us to our most significant growth. The next time you find yourself in a situation that feels uncertain, take a moment to breathe and recognize the potential that lies within that uncertainty. Embrace it, and let it guide you toward new beginnings and endless possibilities. This shift in perspective can be empowering. Choose to see uncertainty as an opportunity to explore, to innovate, and to discover who you truly are. How to cultivate trust in life's flow, even when outcomes are unclear. Trusting the journey of life is not always easy, especially when the outcomes are uncertain. Yet, I've come to realize that trusting life does not mean we ignore the fear or anxiety that often accompanies the unknown. Instead, it involves accepting that uncertainty is a natural part of our existence. One powerful technique I've learned is to shift my perspective from viewing life as a series of challenges to seeing it as a series of opportunities for growth. When I frame situations this way, I find it easier to embrace the journey instead of fixating on the destination. Engaging in self-reflection can also enhance this trust. Taking the time to ponder my experiences allows me to recognize patterns in my life, especially how I've navigated difficulties in the past. I often write in a journal, recounting moments when I felt lost or uncertain, but eventually emerged with newfound strength or clarity. This practice illuminates how, even in ambiguity, I have often been led to exactly where I needed to be. Seeing this connection has helped me cultivate a deeper trust in the unfolding of my life. Mindfulness has become an integral tool in my journey towards trusting life's flow. A simple yet effective exercise I practice is focusing on my breath. Whenever I feel a wave of anxiety about the future, I pause, close my eyes, and take a few deep breaths. With each inhale, I remind myself that I can only control the present moment. As I exhale, I release the pressure of needing to know what lies ahead. This act of grounding myself in the now fosters a sense of peace and trust in the process of life. I also find it helpful to incorporate moments of gratitude into my days. Taking time to acknowledge things I appreciate, big or small, shifts my mindset from one of worry to one of abundance. This not only cultivates a trusting attitude, but also opens my eyes to the beauty around me, even in times of uncertainty. I often jot down a few things I am thankful for each evening, which allows me to reflect on the positive aspects of my life, reinforcing the belief that everything is unfolding as it should. In moments of doubt, I remind myself that embracing unpredictability can lead to unexpected joy. A practical tip is to welcome uncertainty as an invitation to explore new paths. By reframing the way I perceive life's uncertainties, I nurture a more trusting relationship with my journey, and I encourage you to do the same. Stories of people who thrived by embracing the unknown. Each of us has faced moments where the road ahead is clouded in uncertainty. I remember when a close friend of mine, Sarah, decided to leave her stable job to pursue her passion for painting. The decision sent shivers down her spine, yet she felt a spark of possibility igniting within her. With only a small savings cushion, she dove headfirst into the unknown. The first few months were a blur of doubt and struggle, but rather than retreating into fear, she embraced the unpredictability. Gradually, her art began to resonate with others, not just as colors on a canvas, but as a reflection of her journey. Eventually, she held her first solo exhibition, drawing in crowds who were inspired by her willingness to leap into the unknown. Sarah's story teaches us that sometimes success lies beyond the veil of fear. From Sarah's journey, we can extract profound lessons about resilience and the beauty of exploration. It's essential to understand that the unknown, while daunting, often leads to unexpected opportunities. The stories of those who have dared to step away from their comfort zones reveal that embracing uncertainty can awaken hidden strengths within us. Every stroke of doubt can uncover layers of determination, pushing us to innovate and adapt. We learn that triumph is not merely about the end goal, but the process, each stumble and graceful recovery enriching our experience. When faced with uncertainty, it's vital to remember that it is not a void, but a canvas on which to paint our dreams. Stepping into the unknown cultivates creativity and opens doors we never knew existed. Remember, stepping into uncertainty often requires courage. When confronted with your own unknowns, consider taking small steps rather than giant leaps. Each small victory can build your confidence, shaping you into a person capable of achieving incredible things. Embrace the fear, recognize it as a companion on your journey, and you may find that the greatest stories begin exactly where comfort ends. Chapter 7. Surrendering to Emotions. Why avoiding or suppressing emotions keeps us stuck. Ignoring or pushing away our emotions may seem like a shortcut to avoid discomfort, but in reality, it comes at a high price. I remember a time in my life when I decided that feeling sad was just too hard. I buried that sadness deep, convincing myself that being strong meant not allowing myself to feel anything painful. Yet, the more I suppressed, the more it festered beneath the surface, spilling over into other areas of my life, affecting my relationships and even my health. Ignoring emotions doesn't make them disappear. It often amplifies them, leading to anxiety, depression, and a general sense of disconnection from ourselves and others. This self-imposed isolation creates a heavy burden, making it harder to tackle everyday challenges as we become trapped in a web of our own making. As I navigated through my days, I began to realize that my habitual avoidance of feelings was not just a one-time occurrence. It was a cycle. I noticed that each time I brushed aside an uncomfortable emotion, I was also inadvertently reinforcing a negative pattern. It's like a treadmill that keeps me running in place without any progress. I would react to situations with anger or irritability instead of addressing the underlying issues, and once that anger fizzled out, guilt followed closely behind. Recognizing these patterns was a turning point for me. I learned that avoidance often leads to regret and remorse, trapping me in a repetitive cycle of negativity. It's not until we take the time to validate our feelings and confront them head-on that we can break free from the cycle and start moving toward a healthier and more fulfilling life. Embracing emotions may seem daunting, but it offers a chance for growth. Taking small steps to acknowledge how you feel in each moment can open pathways to deeper understanding and healing. Instead of burying emotions, allow yourself to sit with them, reflect, and understand their origins. The journey may be challenging initially, but it can ultimately lead to renewed strength and resilience. How to sit with discomfort and allow emotions to flow through you. Embracing discomfort is not an easy task, but it is one of the most transformative journeys we can embark upon. Whenever I feel unease bubbling in my chest or a tight knot forming in my stomach, I remind myself that emotions are not the enemy. Techniques for allowing emotions to flow can be simple yet effective. One powerful method is to practice mindfulness. By grounding myself in the present moment and taking a few deep breaths, I create space for my feelings to come to the surface. Allowing myself to sit quietly, I observe the discomfort without judgment. It's about acknowledging what is happening within me while resisting the urge to label it as bad or wrong. Instead of pushing feelings away, I invite them in, creating an open dialogue with my own emotions. A physical practice, like stretching or gentle yoga, serves as a reminder to listen to my body and respect its signals. I often find that when I allow discomfort to settle and expand within me rather than fight against it, I uncover deeper insights about myself. Finding peace in the middle of emotional chaos is liberating. When I let emotions manifest naturally, I find clarity hidden beneath the surface. Each time I sit with discomfort, I cultivate a valuable relationship with myself. I've learned that emotions are fluid, and just as clouds drift across the sky, my feelings too come and go. There is peace in recognizing that pain and joy can coexist. This perspective reshapes my understanding of what it means to live fully. Emotions signaling discomfort often carry important messages, lessons, or reminders about what we truly need. By allowing this flow, I not only lighten my emotional burden, but also foster resilience. Allowing emotions to wash over me, I become less reactive and more attuned to my needs and values, finding inner strength I didn't know existed. Sitting with discomfort opens doors to healing, granting me the courage to face what has long been ignored. Next time you feel the weight of discomfort settling in, try creating a small ritual for yourself. Set aside a few quiet moments where you can breathe, reflect, and simply be with whatever arises. Whether it's writing in a journal, drawing, or practicing meditation, find a method that resonates with you to express what you're feeling. This practice is not about escaping discomfort, but transforming it into something meaningful. Embrace the experience and discover the wisdom hidden within your emotions. The healing power of accepting and processing difficult feelings. Acceptance is often the first step in healing our emotional wounds. When I faced my own struggles, I found that resisting difficult feelings only intensified my pain. Rather than pushing them away, I learned to welcome them. This act of acceptance didn't mean that I had to like those feelings or agree with them. It meant acknowledging their existence without judgment. For instance, when sadness swept over me like a heavy fog, I began to recognize it not as something to fear, but as a natural part of my human experience. This shift of perspective opened a door to a deeper understanding of myself. It became clear that these feelings, no matter how uncomfortable, were valid reactions to my life experiences. Through acceptance, I discovered a profound sense of relief. By not battling against my emotions, I found I could observe them, like a witness to my own thoughts. I started to realize that within these feelings lay valuable insights about my needs and desires. Each experience of pain carried messages that urged me to pay attention to areas of my life that needed nurturing or change. Embracing these emotions turned them from enemies into allies, guiding me toward a more authentic, fulfilling existence. The journey toward emotional healing became less about suppressing my feelings and more about understanding and integrating them into the fabric of my being. Processing and accepting challenging emotions can feel daunting, but there are practical steps that make this journey more manageable. One important technique is journaling. I found that writing allowed me to explore my feelings in a safe space, unraveling the tangled thoughts that often accompany them. I would sit down with a pen and paper, and instead of crafting perfect sentences, I allowed my thoughts to flow freely. This practice transformed my inner dialogue, helping me to articulate feelings that had previously felt overwhelming. With each entry, layers of emotion peeled away, revealing clarity that eluded me in the chaos of my mind. Another helpful approach is mindfulness meditation. I began to incorporate moments of stillness into my daily routine. Sitting quietly and focusing on my breath provided me with the opportunity to observe my feelings without attaching labels or judgments to them. In these moments, I learned to sit with my discomfort, letting it wash over me without the need to react. This practice not only deepened my self-awareness, but also fostered a sense of compassion toward myself. As I became more attuned to my feelings, I found it easier to sit with others in their moments of difficulty, creating a ripple effect of understanding and acceptance. Remember, allowing yourself to feel is a brave act of self-love. Cultivating this acceptance and practicing integration is not a destination, but a continuous journey. The power of healing lies in those moments of honesty with ourselves, acknowledging that it's perfectly okay to feel what we feel. Embrace those feelings, write them down, breathe through them, and let them guide you toward a place of deeper understanding and ultimately peace. Chapter 8. The Freedom of Forgiveness. How holding on to anger and resentment keeps us in chains. Resentment is a heavy burden to carry, one that often starts as a flicker of anger and slowly morphs into something much larger and more insidious. I remember the first time I felt it, an argument with a close friend that left me feeling betrayed. I told myself I'd get over it, but instead I tucked that anger away, believing I could just forget about it. As days turned into weeks, that little spark became a fire, consuming my thoughts and emotions. This is the psychological impact of unresolved anger. It circles in our minds, replaying moments of injustice like a continuous loop, feeding our negative emotions and clouding our judgment. Instead of healing, we find ourselves trapped in a cycle that just keeps spinning, affecting not only how we view those who hurt us, but also how we see ourselves. Holding on to unresolved anger alters our perception of reality. Our minds start to create narratives that justify our feelings, allowing us to cling to the belief that the world is unfair and we are always the victims. This psychological pattern doesn't just stop at personal grievances. It spills over into relationships with others, coloring every interaction with suspicion or finding new reasons to hold grudges. Our mental health begins to suffer as we become increasingly hostile or anxious, and this silent struggle is often invisible to those around us. The burden of resentment is silently shackling us, and the longer we hold on to it, the tighter the chains become. As I reflect on my own experiences, I can't help but feel as though resentment is like living in a self-imposed prison. The bars are not made of steel, but of negative thoughts and emotional turmoil that prevent us from moving forward. They confine us to a space where joy cannot easily enter. I spent years locked up in my resentment, and each time there was an opportunity for happiness or potential growth, I pushed it away because it felt safer to remain angry. The irony is that I thought I was protecting myself, but I was only isolating myself from warmth, connection, and discovery. Resentment holds us hostage, dictating our actions and limiting our experiences. It restricts our ability to form new relationships and hinders personal growth. In my own journey, I had to face the uncomfortable truth that my resentment wasn't just a reaction. It was a choice. Each moment I clung to it, I chose to remain stagnant, refusing to free myself from the past. The weight of these chains became unbearable, reminding me that true freedom lies not in holding on, but in the ability to let go. It is not an easy path to walk, But as I began my journey towards forgiveness, I discovered a profound truth. Releasing anger and resentment unlocks doors to new experiences, joys, and healthier relationships. This journey is unique for everyone, but a practical tip is to start small. Consider writing down the grievances you hold on to and then reflect upon them. Recognizing the root of your feelings is the first step toward liberation. As difficult as it may be, confronting unresolved anger allows you to inch closer to freedom, one step at a time. The act of forgiveness as an ultimate surrender of the past. Forgiveness often feels like a daunting task, an emotional mountain we must climb. It requires us to look deep within ourselves and confront feelings of anger, hurt, and betrayal. I never realized how powerful forgiveness could be until I experienced it firsthand. It was not merely an act of letting go, but a profound shift in my understanding of relationships and the burdens we carry. The moment I decided to forgive, it was as if a heavy weight lifted off my shoulders. I witnessed how forgiveness transformed not only my own emotional landscape, but also the connections I had with those around me. By embracing forgiveness, I discovered the freedom to move beyond my past, allowing me to breathe easier and feel lighter in my everyday life. Forgiveness taught me that by releasing resentment, I could open my heart to new possibilities and redefine my future. Surrendering the past is one of the most liberating choices I have ever made. Holding on to grudges only tied me to moments I could not change, trapping me in a cycle of negativity. When I finally acknowledged the futility of clinging to old wounds, I realized how many opportunities for joy I had missed. Letting go was not a sign of weakness, but an act of courage. It allowed me to reclaim my narrative, free from the shackles of anger and hurt. I learned to see the moments of pain not as insurmountable barriers, but as stepping stones toward a more fulfilling life. Each time I chose forgiveness, I surrendered another piece of my past, slowly transforming the memories that once haunted me into lessons that enriched my present. The act of surrendering became a practice in self-compassion, enabling me to cultivate genuine connections and ultimately a profound sense of peace. It is essential to remember that forgiveness is a personal journey, not a destination. Each step you take toward releasing the past can lead to greater emotional clarity and joy. By embracing this process, you will not only become lighter, but also more open to the beauty of life around you. Practical steps to release grudges and embrace peace. Forgiveness isn't merely an abstract concept. It's a practical skill that can be honed, much like any other. To truly embark on the journey of forgiveness, I found it helpful to engage in a series of tangible actions. The first step often starts with reflection. I sat quietly and acknowledged the hurt I felt. Understanding the emotions tied to my grievances allowed me to face them head-on rather than burying them deep inside. As I jotted down my feelings, I discovered that articulating my pain helped clarify the reasons behind my grudges. Next, I made a conscious choice to empathize with the person who had wronged me. This didn't mean condoning their actions. Rather, it involved attempting to see things from their perspective. I considered their experiences, their struggles, and what might have driven them to behave the way they did. This act of mental gymnastics often opened up a pathway of compassion, shifting my internal narrative from one of judgment to understanding. Once I embraced this perspective, I found the power of expression to be liberating. Writing a letter, whether sent or unsent, became a vital part of my process. I poured out my feelings, my anger, and even my forgiveness into that letter. The act of writing became cathartic, helping me to release the weight of resentment. After that, I recognized the importance of setting boundaries. This step involved realizing that while I could choose to forgive, it didn't always mean allowing someone back into my life the same way as before. Establishing healthy boundaries ensured I protected my peace while still walking the path of forgiveness. The impact of forgiveness soon unfolded in ways I hadn't anticipated, weaving peace into the very fabric of my daily life. As I began to let go of long-held grudges, I noticed a reduction in the emotional weight I carried. The constant replay of hurtful memories faded, and in their absence, I found clarity, and with clarity came a newfound serenity. Psychological studies affirm this. Forgiving not only lightens the heart, but can also reduce anxiety and depression, fostering an overall sense of well-being. Forgiveness created space for positivity. As I released bitterness, I found myself being more open to joy, more connected to others, and less burdened by negative thoughts. It felt as if a heavy fog had lifted, allowing light to stream into areas of my life previously shrouded in darkness. With each grudge released, I tapped into a sense of peace that rippled through my relationships and my interactions with the world around me. This transformative experience reinforced the idea that peace isn't just a result of external circumstances. It is deeply tied to our internal choices. The decision to forgive not only heals wounds, but also opens avenues for personal growth and resilience. As I ventured further into this newfound peace, I realized that it requires nurturing and can easily slip away if not tended to regularly. Moreover, it became clear to me that forgiveness is not a one-time event. It is a continual practice. Keeping my heart open and focused on the present has proven essential. Embracing gratitude alongside this journey has enriched my life immensely. It shifted my focus from what was lost to what could still be gained, offering an inspiring glimpse into how life unfolds beautifully when I choose peace over pain. As I reflect on my journey, I understand now that practicing forgiveness isn't just a personal mandate. It is a collective responsibility, not only to ourselves but also to others, as we allow them to breathe freely in the spaces we've liberated. A valuable tip I discovered: creating a small ritual around forgiveness can help. Whether it's lighting a candle as a symbolic gesture or taking a moment to meditate on releasing grudges can anchor the practice deeply in daily life. Chapter 9: Relationships and the Art of Letting Go. Why controlling others destroys connection. Control in relationships often masquerades as love or protection, but in reality, it can be the very thing that drives a wedge between individuals. When one person tries to dictate another's thoughts, behaviors, or feelings, they create an unspoken distance that can be hard to bridge. I've witnessed this firsthand, where well-meaning intentions can morph into restrictions. Instead of fostering a sense of safety and trust, control breeds resentment, frustration, and ultimately loneliness. It's a paradox. The more we attempt to control, the further we drift away from genuine connection. I remember a friend who often tried to manage every aspect of her partner's life, convinced she was helping him. But as time passed, he became increasingly withdrawn. The more she grasped for security, the more he slipped away, highlighting a painful truth: connection thrives on freedom, not control. The distinction between open and closed relationship dynamics is crucial in understanding how control manifests. In a closed dynamic, one partner often feels the need to manage or dictate, inadvertently creating a prison of sorts. Emotions become tightly bound, and choices are limited. It's in these scenarios that I've seen individuals feel suffocated, their true selves stifled. They may wear masks of compliance, but behind those facades lies a yearning for authenticity. Open dynamics, on the other hand, allow for exploration and vulnerability, fostering a space where both partners can express their thoughts and feelings without fear. I've had conversations with those in such relationships, and their enthusiasm for individual growth and shared experiences is infectious. They support each other while nurturing their own identities, proving that true connection flourishes when there is space to be one's self, free of the heavy chains of control. Recognizing these patterns can be the first step toward healthier relationships. Building open dynamics doesn't require monumental changes. Small gestures of trust can significantly impact the connection. Encouraging each other to voice desires and boundaries creates a partnership where both individuals feel valued and free. Understanding the balance between love and control is essential, for in this delicate dance lies the heart of true connection. Surrendering expectations to create space for authentic relationships. Expectations can sometimes feel like invisible weights, pressing down on the connections we forge with others. I remember a time in my life when I was full of hope for my relationships. I wanted my friends to always know what I needed without me having to say a word. It seemed like a fairy tale, but reality struck hard. When those expectations went unmet, disappointment set in, and this created a ripple effect that strained not only my friendships but also my sense of self. Expectations often come from our past experiences, from how we've seen relationships unfold around us, and they seem so innocuous. However, they can create a template that no one can truly live up to, and the consequences can leave us feeling more isolated than connected. The journey towards authenticity often starts with the realization that we don't have to conform to the heavy demands our expectations create. When I began to share my true self, flaws and all, something shifted in my relationships. I discovered the joy of being around people who accepted me as I was, without the pretense of perfection. The authenticity I sought in others began to reflect back to me and changed the landscape of my connections. Being genuine fosters an environment where others feel safe to show their true selves as well, and this can lead to deeper, more satisfying relationships. The beauty of these connections lies in their realness. They don't crumble under the weight of unrealistic expectations, but instead grow stronger in vulnerability and truth. One practical way to cultivate more authentic relationships is to practice open communication. Express your needs and feelings honestly while inviting others to do the same. This creates an atmosphere of trust, laying the groundwork for deeper connections free from the burdens of unspoken expectations. Embracing this authenticity not only enriches our relationships, but also leads us toward our truest selves. How letting go strengthens intimacy and trust. Trust is not something that can be demanded. It is earned through vulnerability. I remember a moment in my life when I stood at a crossroads, debating whether to share a difficult experience with someone I cared about deeply. This was my first real lesson in vulnerability. As I opened up about my fears and uncertainties, I felt a strange mix of anxiety and relief. To my surprise, instead of judgment, I was met with understanding and empathy. That moment became a foundation for our relationship, illustrating how sharing our softer sides can create an unshakable bond. Vulnerability invites others to be open in return, establishing a safe space where each person feels valued and respected. Through these candid exchanges, trust builds like sturdy bricks stacking upon one another, creating a wall that protects and nurtures the connection between two people. Intimacy thrives in uncertainty and the willingness to surrender. I vividly recall a time when I had to let go of my need to control the outcome of a relationship. Holding on tightly had only led to stress and anxiety. It was in the moments of surrender that I discovered true emotional intimacy. By allowing myself to be vulnerable and embracing uncertainty, something magical began to happen. I started to connect with my partner on a much deeper level. Conversations flowed freely, laughter became more abundant, and even the silence felt comfortable. Through surrender, I learned that intimacy means allowing the other person to see both the light and shadow sides of ourselves. It's a dance of sharing joys, fears, and dreams without the burden of expectations. This open exchange creates a richer, more satisfying emotional landscape where trust can flourish. Understanding the relationship between letting go, vulnerability, and trust can transform your connections, making them deeper and more meaningful. A simple yet powerful practice is to share something personal each week, whether it's a small worry, a dream, or a regret. These moments allow your relationships to bloom and pave the way for a trust that withstands the test of time. Chapter 10: Surrendering in Times of Crisis. How surrendering helps us navigate uncertainty, loss, and change. Surrendering, in its truest sense, is not about giving up. It's about letting go of the desperate need to control every situation, especially in moments of crisis. I remember a time when everything felt like it was spiraling out of control. Job losses, family disputes, and personal failures all seemed to crush me under their weight. During those tumultuous days, I discovered that bravely embracing my vulnerability was a form of strength. By accepting that I couldn't predict or manipulate outcomes, I unveiled a path toward inner peace. The moment I accepted uncertainty rather than fighting against it, a remarkable transformation began. Instead of trying to steer the ship through rough waters, I allowed myself to drift with the waves, trusting that the universe has its own course. This practice of surrendering does not erase pain or uncertainty, but creates a space for resilience and perspective. It encourages us to lean into our emotions rather than flee from them. I learned to sit quietly with my feelings, knowing they would come and go like the tide. Surrendering creates space for healing, allowing grief and confusion to percolate until they eventually evolve into understanding and acceptance. By relinquishing the need for control, we open ourselves up to new opportunities we might never have seen while frantically grasping for stability. Another powerful strategy is to cultivate gratitude amidst chaos. It feels almost surreal to express gratitude when everything seems lost. However, I began to write down small things I appreciated each day. The sun peeking through the clouds, the warmth of a loved one's embrace, or simply a moment of laughter. This practice shifted my focus from what I lacked to what I had, bringing comfort in the midst of uncertainty. Through surrender, we recognize that while change is inevitable, resilience is possible. The ability to navigate loss and transition lies within us, awaiting our acknowledgement. As we embrace change, we become the architects of our own peace, one day at a time. To implement these strategies in your own life, practice daily breathing exercises and maintain a gratitude journal. Reflect on the things you can control and let the rest go. In doing so, you'll unlock the strength inherent in surrender, allowing you to navigate life's inevitable uncertainties with grace and courage. Learning to find meaning and strength in difficult times. Life has a mysterious way of bringing us to our knees. I've experienced moments when I felt utterly defeated, like a ship lost at sea during a storm. Yet, it was during those very moments of surrender that I discovered an unexpected source of strength within myself. Surrendering doesn't mean giving up. Rather, it's about allowing ourselves to feel the weight of our struggles without judgment. When I stopped fighting against my circumstances and accepted the reality of my situation, something remarkable happened. Instead of being overwhelmed, I felt an unshakable calm wash over me. This acceptance became a fertile ground for resilience to grow. In grappling with the notion of surrender, I learned that it could be an act of courage rather than weakness. For instance, during a particularly challenging time in my life, I lost my job, and for a while, it seemed as if the ground had fallen out from under me. Rather than pushing against this change, I took a step back. I allowed myself to feel the sadness, the anger, and the uncertainty. And in that space of vulnerability, I uncovered insights about what truly mattered to me. I redefined my priorities and began to listen to my inner voice, which had been drowned out by life's constant noise. This act of surrender ultimately unveiled a path toward restoration and growth, illuminating a well of inner strength that had long been dormant. Each challenge I faced seemed to carry its own burden of pain. However, I began to notice a pattern. After each storm, a deeper understanding emerged. As I reflected on my experiences, I started to see them not just as obstacles, but as opportunities for growth and learning. Pain, it turns out, can be an arduous teacher, guiding us toward a greater sense of purpose. When I looked back at my struggles, they felt less like burdens and more like stepping stones leading me toward a more profound understanding of myself and the world around me. In one particularly dark phase, I lost a loved one, and the depth of my grief was overwhelming. Yet, as time passed, I found that this painful experience ignited a desire in me to help others going through similar losses. It was as if the very act of processing my grief opened a door to empathy and connection that I hadn't fully appreciated before. I began to volunteer with organizations that support people in mourning, sharing my story and listening to theirs. In doing so, I realized that every encounter became a catalyst for healing. This journey taught me that through our darkest moments, we can often forge a sense of purpose that not only rescues us from despair, but also serves others in their own time of need. Finding meaning amidst pain is not always easy, but a crucial step lies in open-hearted reflection. It may help to set aside some time to contemplate your hardships and jot down any insights that arise. You might be surprised at what you uncover about your journey and the strength that comes from embracing both the light and the shadow of your experiences. Real-life stories of resilience through surrender. Resilience can often feel like a buzzword, a concept thrown around during motivational speeches, but real-life stories paint a picture that is both profound and relatable. I encountered Sarah during a community workshop on mental health. She shared a story of loss when her father passed away unexpectedly. In that moment, she faced a choice: to let grief consume her or to find a way to move forward. Rather than pushing her feelings aside or pretending they didn't exist, Sarah decided to surrender to her grief. Instead of avoiding her pain, she embraced it, allowing herself to cry when necessary and seek help when she needed it. Over the following months, Sarah transformed her sorrow into something powerful. She began volunteering for bereavement support groups, helping others who faced similar heartaches. Through her vulnerability, she found strength, showcasing that true resilience often arises not from fighting the storm, but from letting it wash over us. Another inspiring example came from Mark, a young man who faced debilitating anxiety. For years, he felt trapped in his own mind, constantly battling thoughts that held him captive. After years of struggling, Mark discovered mindfulness and meditation. At first, the idea of simply yielding to his inner turmoil seemed counterintuitive. However, as he learned to surrender to the present moment, he noticed a remarkable shift. Instead of resisting his anxious thoughts, he acknowledged them, allowing them to come and go like waves in the ocean. This powerful lesson was not only about acceptance, but also about the freedom that comes with letting go of the need to control every aspect of his life. Through surrender, Mark not only found peace but also the ability to share his journey, inspiring countless others grappling with similar battles. Reflecting on these stories of resilience, I've discovered profound lessons about the power of surrender. The journey of Sarah and Mark illustrates that embracing vulnerability can be incredibly transformative. Surrender does not mean giving up. Rather, it's an opportunity to pause, reflect, and rediscover oneself. Allowing our emotions space to breathe can lead to a deeper understanding of our needs and desires. One powerful takeaway is the importance of community connection. Sarah found strength in helping others, while Mark discovered support through sharing his experiences. It reminds us that we are never alone in our struggles. When we surrender to our challenges, we actually open the door to genuine connections, growth, and healing. Embracing this mindset can lead to wonderful outcomes, helping us not only recover, but also thrive in ways we never imagined. As you navigate your own challenges, remember that surrendering isn't a sign of weakness. Instead, it is an act of courage and wisdom. So, the next time life throws you a curveball, consider embracing the moment rather than fighting against it. By surrendering, you may just discover the resilience that lies within. Chapter 11: The Flow State, Surrendering to the Moment. How letting go of distractions and overthinking unlocks creativity and focus. Flow is that elusive state where everything seems to click. When I first experienced it, I was lost in a world where time stopped and distractions faded away. It was a bit like driving on an open road during a sunlit day, the wind rushing by, and I could focus only on the horizon ahead. This remarkable state, often described as being in the zone, allows for an influx of creativity and productivity that feels effortless. In flow, our mind becomes a well-tuned instrument, effortlessly generating new ideas and solutions. Researchers suggest that tapping into flow can boost our performance and satisfaction in various activities, whether it's painting a masterpiece or solving a complex problem at work. Understanding the principles of flow helps us cultivate this state more frequently, enabling us to access boundless creativity while enhancing our focus. To enter the flow state, there are a few essential ingredients. Firstly, it requires a balance between challenge and skill. Too little challenge leads to boredom, while too much challenge results in anxiety. It's vital to seek tasks that push our abilities just enough without overwhelming us. Next is the importance of clear goals. When we know what we're working towards, we can immerse ourselves more deeply. But perhaps the most critical factor is the need for uninterrupted time. In today's world, we're bombarded by notifications and distractions, making it all too easy to slip out of flow and into chaos. Returning to that moment where distractions disappeared, I realized that finding flow is about creating conditions conducive to deep focus, and this realization has guided my journey toward unlocking creativity. Navigating this world of constant distractions has been a challenge for me, often leaving my mind racing in all directions. The phone buzzes with alerts, the television hums in the background, and thoughts of yesterday's worries swirl around like leaves in a gust of wind. It took time, but I learned that to reclaim focus, I had to develop strategies to quiet my mind. One effective approach is creating a designated space for work or creativity that is free from interruptions. This space becomes a psychological cue for my brain, signaling that it's time to engage deeply. Another key strategy is to set specific time blocks for focused work. When I allocate chunks of time for tasks, I build a sense of urgency that often pushes me into the flow state. During these blocks, I turn off notifications and take breaks purposely, mini escapes that recharge my mind without it wandering off into irrelevant thoughts. Mindfulness practices have also enriched my ability to redirect my focus. Simple breathing exercises or short meditations help ground my thoughts, allowing me to return to my work with renewed clarity. The journey has shown me that letting go of distractions isn't simply about shutting things out. It's about creating a mental environment where my creative juices can flow freely. One of the most powerful insights I've gained is that each time I silence distractions, I don't just enhance my focus. I unlock a deeper well of creativity waiting for me to dive in. When I finally embraced the need to quiet my mind, I noticed a significant shift in my creativity and productivity. The chatter in my head began to fade, inventiveness flourished, and I started producing work that was not only fulfilling but also deeply resonant. There's immense power in recognizing how distractions can drain our creative energy. By taking proactive measures to interrupt this cycle, we open ourselves to the rich possibilities of inspiration and clarity. Experiment with creating your own distraction-free zone, dedicating time where your mind can breathe and roam through the landscapes of your imagination. In time, you may find that this practice leads you deeper into the flow state, illuminating your path with creativity and focus. Techniques to stay present and aligned with life's rhythm. Life often feels like a whirlwind, with our thoughts racing forward to the next task or worry, leaving us disconnected from the present moment. One technique I've found invaluable is the practice of mindful breathing. Taking a few minutes each day to focus solely on my breath brings me back to the here and now. I sit quietly, feeling the air enter and leave my lungs, noticing the rhythm it creates. This simple act often grounds me, helping to diminish the noise of everyday life. Another practice that has shifted my perspective is body scanning. By turning my attention inward, I move through different parts of my body, noticing sensations or tension without judgment. This helps me reconnect with my physical being and understand how emotions may manifest physically. It's a gentle reminder to check in with myself amidst the chaos of daily routines. Engaging with nature has also proven to deepen my sense of presence. Whether I'm walking through a park or simply sitting in my backyard, I immerse myself in the sounds and sights surrounding me. The rustle of leaves, the chirping of birds, and the warmth of the sun create a symphony that draws me into the moment. This connection not only soothes my mind, but also reminds me of the simplicity of existence. Cultivating presence is rooted in these small yet significant practices. When I think of rhythm, I often picture music, but our lives are a melody all their own, with changing tempos and patterns. Being aware of this rhythm has transformed my approach to daily tasks. For example, I've noticed that my energy levels shift throughout the day, peaking at certain times and waning at others. By aligning my most demanding tasks with my energy ups and downs, I find that things flow more easily. This rhythmic awareness extends beyond the day and into the seasons of life. Each season brings its own energy and opportunities. In spring, I feel a surge of creativity and renewal, while winter often calls for introspection and rest. By tuning into these natural cycles, I can honor what each phase offers. Riding this wave of personal rhythm encourages a harmonious existence, making it easier to align my actions with my intentions. Living in sync with life's rhythm isn't merely about productivity. It's about embracing the dance of existence. It's freeing to adapt to the flow rather than resisting it, learning to understand when to push forward and when to let go. In this dance, I find a deeper connection to my environment and a greater sense of peace in my actions. To keep these practices alive in your life, try setting aside just a few minutes each day for mindful reflection. Use a journal to document your experiences with presence and rhythm. This not only tracks your growth, but also serves as a reminder that each small moment counts in the grand symphony of your life. Examples of athletes, artists, and innovators who thrive in the flow state. Across various fields, many renowned figures have exemplified the magic of the flow state, often achieving remarkable feats that leave us in awe. One standout is Michael Jordan, whose ability to remain fully immersed in the game transformed basketball. When he was on the court, he often seemed like he was in a trance, effortlessly sinking shots and evading defenders. His performances during crucial playoff games showcased not just his athleticism, but also a deep connection to the moment, illustrating how flow can elevate performance to extraordinary levels. Similarly, the famous composer Mozart is remembered not merely for his technical prowess, but for how his music flowed from him with apparent ease and joy. He often described the process of composing as a state where time ceased to exist, and he was simply a medium for divine inspiration. On the canvas, artists like Vincent van Gogh experienced flow as they became one with their work, losing track of time and letting their emotions dictate their brushstrokes. Each of these individuals demonstrates how, when fully engaged, they transcend ordinary limitations and produce work that resonates deeply with others. The mindset of flow is a treasure trove of lessons we can each apply in our lives. Observing these figures reveals a common thread. They cultivated environments that sparked their deep focus. Michael Jordan famously practiced tirelessly, refining his skills over countless hours, which not only improved his game, but also built the confidence necessary to embrace high-pressure situations. For artists like Van Gogh, the act of creation was not just a task, but a profound exploration of their inner worlds. They often immersed themselves in their passions, bringing a sense of playfulness to their practice, which allowed them to ignore distractions. This indicates that embracing what we love and engaging with it authentically can lead us into our own states of flow. Innovators, including figures like Steve Jobs, also thrived by pursuing projects that excited them deeply, fostering environments where creativity could flourish free of fear. By learning from their experiences, we can find ways to channel our own passions and interests, inviting a flow into our daily routines. A practical tip would be to find your own trigger for flow, a specific time, place, or activity where you can immerse yourself and allow whatever you are passionate about to unfold. Chapter 12: The Abundance of Letting Go. How surrendering scarcity mindsets creates space for abundance. Scarcity thinking often sees us living in a constant state of fear, fearing that there isn't enough of anything to go around, be it love, money, success, or opportunities. This mindset creates a cycle that can feel overwhelming. For a long time, I felt the weight of this mindset suffocating my potential. Every time an opportunity arose, I found myself questioning its legitimacy. I believed there would only ever be a limited set of chances for people like me. This belief took shape in numerous ways, from the anxiety of not having enough financial resources to start a project, to the fear of rejection if I sought new relationships. The irony is that by focusing on what I lacked, I inadvertently heightened the barriers to achieving what I truly desired. These thought patterns were more than mental habits. They were walls that I built around myself, restricting my growth and limiting my experiences. When we operate in a scarcity mindset, we often find ourselves competing with others instead of collaborating, which only deepens our sense of division and isolation. The more I settled into scarcity, the more I discovered a truth. My fulfillment became contingent on the perception of lack rather than abundance. It was a painful realization, yet it highlighted the depth of change that was necessary. Letting go of this scarcity mindset began as a slow decision, like peeling back the layers of an onion. With each layer I removed, I started to recognize the abundance that was actually surrounding me. It was staggering to realize how much I missed when I was focused solely on what I didn't have. Opportunities began to spring forth, revealing themselves like hidden gems I had failed to notice in the past. I learned that abundance isn't just about material wealth. It's also about connections and experiences. As I shifted my perspective, I became open to new collaborations and relationships. Instead of competing, I found myself cheering for others while simultaneously pursuing my own dreams. One pivotal moment was when I began to celebrate the achievements of friends and colleagues rather than feeling envy. This practice of gratitude transformed my outlook entirely. The world, I discovered, was not a zero-sum game, and the success of others need not diminish my own prospects. I found that the more I practiced gratitude and embraced abundance, the more opportunities rushed into my life. New doors opened. Previously unimaginable paths revealed themselves, propelling me further on my journey. The transition may not have been instantaneous, but it was profoundly liberating, and it taught me that letting go of scarcity can lead to a wealth of unexpected possibilities. As I reflect on this journey, a practical tip emerges: cultivate a habit of gratitude. Each morning, jot down 3 things you are thankful for. It can be as simple as the warmth of the sun, a thoughtful message from a friend, or a fulfilling meal. This small exercise reframes your focus on what you have rather than what you lack. Allowing yourself to revel in these moments of abundance will create space for even more positivity and opportunities to flow into your life. Trusting the process of giving without expecting returns. Giving has an unparalleled magic that touches the soul. I've often found myself reflecting on the moments when I've extended help or kindness without a thought for what I might receive in return. These acts, rooted in altruism, reveal a deeper truth about our human experience. Altruism isn't just about helping others. It's a profound acknowledgement of our interconnectedness. When one person offers something, a smile, a meal, or a simple moment of their time, it creates ripples that reach far beyond the initial act. I've learned that this selflessness not only benefits others, but enriches my own life in ways I never anticipated. The warm gratitude of a stranger, the laughter shared over a meal prepared for a friend, or even witnessing someone overcome a hardship can fill my heart with joy, far surpassing any material reward. The essence of true giving often lies in the surrender of expectations. I realize that when I give with a tight grip, expecting something in return, I stifle the beauty of the interaction. However, When I let go of the need for acknowledgement or reciprocity, I create space for genuine connection and profound experiences. This surrender transforms moments of giving into shared experiences. I think about the times I volunteered, offering my time to help those in need without keeping score. The satisfaction and joy I felt in those moments were directly tied to my willingness to let go of how I wanted it to unfold. I began to see that in surrendering my expectations, I opened myself to receiving in unexpected ways. Ecstasy often comes from unanticipated friendships formed through shared experiences or the life lessons learned from those I help. Surrendering those preconceived notions opened my heart wider than I ever thought possible, allowing me to fully embrace the beauty of each moment. In our journey of giving, let's remember that the simplest acts can yield the most profound lessons. When we give without strings attached, we invite deeper connections, a richer communal experience, and a sense of fulfillment that transcends the material world. Embracing this way of being can lead to greater happiness. So next time you give, try to focus on the act itself rather than what might come of it. Stories of unexpected opportunities that arose from surrender. I remember the day I decided to surrender my need for control. It was during a particularly stressful period in my life, when everything seemed to slip through my fingers. The more I clutched at my plans, the more chaos ensued. Taking a deep breath, I let go, not knowing the surprising tales that would unfold from that moment. I met a woman named Sarah, who shared her story of willingness to release her rigid expectations. She had been fighting hard for a promotion that felt just out of reach. One day, with her heart heavy, she chose to step back and focus on her own personal growth instead. The unexpected twist was that, while she was busy nurturing her skills and self-worth, the company recognized her dedication. They offered her an even better position, one she had never even imagined herself capable of. The act of surrender opened doors she didn't know existed, proving that sometimes the moments we relinquish control are the ones that spark our true potential. One underlying principle remains clear through these stories: the strength of surrender. When we release our tight hold on life, we invite possibilities that were previously hidden from view. The next time you find yourself clinging to an outcome, consider the transformative power of letting go. Sometimes, the very act of surrender transforms our setbacks into stepping stones toward further growth, leading us to places we could never have envisaged. Embracing this mindset can turn even the most daunting challenges into remarkable opportunities for change. Chapter 13: Rediscovering Your True Self. How surrendering external expectations reconnects you with your essence. There are moments when I find myself caught in the whirlwind of expectations, feeling as if I'm playing a part in someone else's script. The voices of society, family, and friends echo in my mind, dictating how I should act, what I should achieve, and even who I should be. These external pressures create a thick fog that clouds my sense of self, making it nearly impossible to see the essence that lies within me. I've often thought about how these expectations shape not only my decisions, but my very identity. Instead of responding to what truly calls to my heart, I often reacted to what I believed others expected from me, losing sight of my desires, dreams, and values in the process. It's as if I've been sculpted by outside forces, chipping away at my essence until only fragments of my true self remain. This disconnection from my authentic self leaves an ache, a longing for something deeper that can only be filled by returning to the essence of who I really am. To reclaim my essence, I realized that I needed to embark on a journey back to my true self. This process begins with listening, really listening, to my inner voice and differentiating it from the external noises that demand my attention. I started asking myself simple yet profound questions. What brings me joy? What are my passions? What do I believe in? These questions are more than mere inquiries. They are stepping stones leading me home to my authentic self. I also learned the importance of solitude, where I could immerse myself in quiet reflection, free from the clamor of expectation. It's in these moments of stillness that I rediscovered forgotten passions and dreams that once danced in my heart. Reconnecting with my essence also meant shedding layers of preconceived notions that I wore for others. By practicing self-compassion and allowing myself the grace to be imperfect, I began embracing my unique path, even if it didn't align with what was deemed conventional. Ultimately, the path to authenticity is about courage, the courage to follow my heart, to embrace my individuality, and to share my true self with the world without fear. Every step taken in this journey toward authenticity is a step toward fulfillment and joy. Start small. Dedicate just a few minutes a day to reflect on what truly matters to you, allowing those insights to guide your actions. The process of unlearning societal conditioning to find inner clarity. From a young age, we are like sponges, absorbing every message the world throws at us. Societal conditioning seeps into our very being, shaping our beliefs, values, and identities, often without us even realizing it. I recall moments in my childhood when I was told that success looked a certain way: good grades, a stable job, and a traditional family. Those messages created a framework for what I believed I had to become. But as I grew older, I began to notice the cracks in this blueprint. The constant push to conform left me feeling like a stranger in my own skin. I started questioning everything. Was I really on the right path, or was I simply following a script written by others? The pressure to fit into predefined molds had stifled my true self. The struggle was real, as it is for many of us. It comes with an overwhelming sense of inadequacy and confusion about who we really are. Each societal expectation, whether related to gender roles, career choices, or even personal relationships, served as both a guide and a cage. Gradually unlearning these imposed beliefs is akin to peeling back layers of an onion. It requires patience, introspection, and a commitment to rediscovering oneself. I began by identifying moments in my life when I felt pressure to conform. These moments, profound and often painful, became the focal points for my journey. Journaling was my first step. I poured my thoughts onto the page, documenting feelings of discontent and confusion. In those pages, I unearthed patterns, thoughts I had accepted without question. For years, they had been my truth, but they were not my truth. I started to ask myself probing questions. What do I genuinely believe? What makes me happy? This was liberating yet daunting. I needed to challenge my assumptions and beliefs, and that meant stepping into unknown territory. Surrounding myself with supportive people helped me immensely. I sought communities that celebrated authenticity and individuality. Engaging in conversations about identity, purpose, and passion encouraged me to be brave and vulnerable. It fostered a space where I could explore and embrace my authentic self, free from judgment. As I continued this path of unlearning, I began to feel a sense of clarity emerging. Replacing old beliefs with new, empowering ideas felt exhilarating. One practical step that worked for me was practicing mindfulness. By taking time each day to meditate and reflect, I created space for deeper understanding and awareness of my thoughts. It became easier to distinguish between my authentic feelings and those inherited from societal conditioning. This journey is ongoing and fluid. Clarity doesn't come all at once. But by nurturing self-awareness and prioritizing my truth, I slowly reclaimed the narrative of my life. Living authentically by letting go of who you should be. Transcending societal molds brings an exhilarating sense of freedom that is hard to describe. For years, I found myself striving to fit into an image that was shaped by others' expectations. The pressure to conform felt heavy, like a cloak I couldn't shake off. It was in those moments of quiet reflection that I realized how much I longed to break free from the constraints of what was deemed acceptable. Stepping beyond these expectations allowed me to discover parts of myself I had hidden away. Society often holds a mirror that reflects a version of us based on ideals and roles that feel foreign. Yet, as I began to peel away the layers of who I was supposed to be, I felt a lightness in my spirit, like a bird finally taking to the sky. This is the essence of living beyond expectations, the beautiful liberation that comes when we untangle ourselves from the web of societal pressures. Embracing who I truly am has been a profoundly transformative journey. At first, expressing my authentic self felt daunting. The fear of judgment loomed large, yet the desire for authenticity overwhelmed it. I discovered that vulnerability is not a weakness but a strength, a connection that resonates with others. Each brave step I took, whether it was sharing my interests, standing up for my beliefs, or simply being unapologetically myself, became an act of rebellion against the box society had put me in. I learned that by allowing myself to express my true self without hesitation, I invite others to do the same. This ripple effect reminds us that we are not alone in our struggles, and there is something beautiful in our shared experiences of fear, hope, and courage. When we embrace ourselves authentically, we create a community of resilience and support, fostering an environment where everyone feels free to shine. Choosing to live authentically is not an overnight transformation. it's a continuous journey. As we confront the doubts and fears that arise, it's vital to remember that authenticity fosters connection. Surround yourself with those who celebrate your quirks and imperfections, and don't hesitate to shed the fear of who you should be. Start small if necessary. Allow yourself to find joy in little moments of self-expression. Share your stories, your passions, and even your dreams, no matter how unconventional. What I found was staggering. The more I embraced my true self, the more room I created for others to do the same. Clarity comes with every choice we make to live authentically, and over time, you will find a profound sense of belonging within your own skin. Chapter 14. Aligning with the bigger picture. How surrender connects you to a greater purpose or universal flow. Surrender is often viewed as a weakness, but I have discovered it to be a profound strength. When I chose to embrace surrender, I felt a shift within me, as if I were untying the knots that bound me to fear and uncertainty. In those moments of letting go, I found myself more in tune with the flow of life. It's as if every challenge, every setback was just a part of a grander design, and by surrendering to that, I could see my path more clearly. I learned that surrender isn't about giving up. It's about releasing my tight grip on how I think things should unfold and allowing life to carry me where I need to go. This openness has deepened my connection to my purpose, revealing truths that I had previously overlooked. As I surrendered to the journey, I began to notice synchronicities, moments that felt too perfectly timed to be mere coincidence. The universe was speaking, guiding me toward what I needed to learn and experience. This connection with a greater purpose became tangible, like a thread that linked my heart to something much larger than myself. I started to see the beauty in the flow of life, understanding that every twist and turn contributed to my unique narrative. It was this realization that forged deeper connections, not only within myself, but also with others. As I aligned with a greater purpose, my fears began to dissipate, replaced by trust and a sense of belonging in the broader tapestry of life. This flow not only brought enthusiastic energy into my pursuits, but also allowed me to approach challenges with a sense of courage and resilience. I learned that alignment is not always a straight path. It can be winding and full of surprises. However, each detour held valuable lessons that enriched my experience. As I embraced this journey, I realized that fulfillment comes not from a destination, but from the process of engaging wholeheartedly with each moment. When we align our actions with purpose, the rewards extend far beyond our personal satisfaction. They ripple out into the world, inspiring others to find their own flow. One practical piece of wisdom I took away from this journey is to take a moment each day to reflect on whether my actions resonate with my true self. This simple practice has become a guiding star, keeping me connected to my greater purpose and helping me flow with life rather than against it. The interplay between effort, intention, and surrender in achieving goals. Effort is often seen as the driving force behind achieving our goals. It's easy to get caught up in the mindset of pushing harder, staying up late, and fighting through challenges. I've been there, convinced that the more I sacrifice, the closer I would be to success. However, there's a profound realization that comes when we learn to balance effort with surrender. Surrender does not imply giving up. Rather, it involves letting go of the need for control over every single outcome. When I aligned my relentless drive for achievement with an openness to what the universe might have in store, I found a new rhythm. Instead of just grinding away, I started to pay attention to moments of inspiration and intuition. Those gentle nudges often led me in directions I never expected, but which ultimately felt right. Recognizing when to push forward and when to step back allowed me to flow with the process instead of battling against it. As I reflected on my journey, I realized that surrender acts as a buffer against frustration. There were times when I poured my heart into a project, only to see it falter. In those moments, rather than succumbing to despair, I chose to surrender my expectations. I learned to embrace the possibility that maybe this path wasn't meant for me or that my efforts could yield results in ways I couldn't yet perceive. Allowing myself to surrender opened up space for new insights and opportunities. The interplay of effort and surrender is dynamic and complementary, transforming our approach from mere toil into a dance of persistence and flexibility. Setting intentions is like planting seeds in a garden. I remember standing in my own metaphorical garden, armed with dreams and aspirations, deeply focused on what I wanted to manifest. However, it soon became apparent that intention requires a light touch. It flourishes when nurtured with care, but can be easily stunted by overbearing control. Intentions allow us to define our direction, but they should be held loosely. I learned the importance of being open to how those intentions might unfold. Sometimes, the very nature of our desires can lead us down winding paths that are richer and more rewarding than we could have ever imagined. This perspective shift encourages living intentionally while welcoming the unexpected. By anchoring myself with clear intentions, yet remaining flexible about the outcomes, I found a sense of freedom and peace. The more I embraced this duality, the more I discovered that life often holds surprises that can lead to extraordinary experiences. Each day became an unfolding story, where I could actively participate without clinging too tightly to a script. When we allow ourselves to be open to possibilities, we create fertile ground for serendipity and insight to bloom. It's this balance of intention and openness that unlocks our path to fulfillment, making the journey toward our goals as beautiful as the destinations themselves. As you navigate your own ambitions, consider setting clear intentions that resonate with your heart, but also practice the art of surrender. Embrace uncertainties, as they often lead to the most profound growth. Remember, life is about the journey, not just the destination. Keeping this in mind will enrich your experience and expand the horizons of what is possible for you. Why true strength lies in understanding your role within the larger whole. True strength emerges not from individual achievements, but from the connections and contributions we make within our communities. Each of us plays a unique role in the tapestry of life. I often find myself reflecting on how my small actions intersect with the larger movements around me. When I lend a helping hand to a neighbor or offer my time to a local charity, I realize that my efforts ripple outward, influencing others in ways I may never fully comprehend. It's eye-opening to think about how every choice I make, from supporting a friend in their struggles to participating in community events, adds to the collective strength of those around me. This interconnectedness fosters a sense of belonging, reminding me that I'm part of something greater than myself. Each community member's input, each voice, every gesture, not only shapes the environment, but also strengthens our resilience as a whole. When we understand our individual contributions, we begin to appreciate our shared responsibility toward creating a supportive and vibrant community. It's in those moments of recognition that I find true strength, realizing how together we can overcome challenges much more effectively than we could alone. As I delve deeper into understanding my role within the larger whole, I uncover profound personal growth. A sense of purpose emerges from this awareness. I've learned that when I align my actions with the needs of my community, I not only enhance the lives of others, but also enhance my own. The fulfillment that comes from knowing I'm making a difference reinforces my identity and gives my life direction. The beauty lies in this ongoing cycle of giving and receiving, where learning takes place in the heart of collaboration. By embracing my role within this vast network, I find meaning in both my actions and the lives I touch. A practical approach to nurturing this understanding can be to regularly engage with your community, whether through volunteering, participating in local events, or simply initiating conversations. Take time to explore how your skills and experiences can impact those around you. Each step taken in this direction contributes to a life imbued with purpose and interconnectedness. Chapter 15. Living a Life of Strength and Surrender. How surrender becomes a daily practice of resilience, trust, and freedom. Every day, I find myself tumbling into the whirlpool of life's demands and expectations. It can feel overwhelming, but I've discovered that surrendering to the flow can transform my experiences significantly. Surrender isn't about giving up or resigning oneself to fate. Rather, it's about embracing the present moment and releasing my tight grip on control. I've cultivated simple daily practices that have helped me embody this concept of surrender. For instance, each morning, I dedicate a few minutes to quiet meditation. During this time, I focus on my breath and let go of any thoughts that try to pull my attention away. This practice grounds me and reminds me to surrender to whatever the day might bring. I also incorporate journaling as a way to reflect on my feelings of resistance throughout the day, recognizing how often I want to fight circumstances that are beyond my control. This simple act of writing invites me to acknowledge my experience without judgment and offers a gentle reminder to let go. Another routine I have integrated involves mindful walking. While strolling, I allow myself to fully immerse in the environment, surrendering to the beauty around me. I leave behind my worries and simply embrace the sensations and sights that present themselves, making me realize that surrender can be found in the most ordinary moments. As I've woven surrender into my daily practices, I've noticed something profound happening within me. I've become more resilient. Initially, I thought resilience came from pushing through challenges with relentless determination. However, I discovered that surrender plays an equally vital role. When I let go of the need to control every outcome and accept whatever life throws my way, I become more adaptable. This adaptability has fortified my resilience. For example, there were times when I faced setbacks in my personal and professional life. My instinct was to resist those changes, to fight against them. But when I chose to surrender, I found a sense of freedom that allowed me to navigate through adversity more effectively. Instead of wallowing in defeat, I began to see these challenges as opportunities for growth. The more I practiced surrendering in small moments, the more prepared I became for larger obstacles. Each act of letting go reinforced my belief that I could face whatever came next. It has become a cycle where resilience feeds into my ability to surrender, while surrendering strengthens my resilience. This dynamic interplay sparked a sense of freedom within me, opening doors to new possibilities I never considered before. The blend of resilience and surrender feels like an empowering dance, allowing me to embrace life fully. To cultivate resilience, consider incorporating a surrender practice into your routine, no matter how small. Whether it's starting your day with mindful moments, reflecting through journaling, or simply pausing to breathe deeply in times of stress, these practices can help you unlock greater flexibility in your life. As you become more aware of your capacity to let go, you may find that resilience grows naturally from the fertile ground of trust, allowing you to embrace the unknown with open arms. Balancing surrender with action. Doing your part while trusting the process. Life often feels like a delicate dance between action and surrender. There have been moments in my journey when I learned that merely pushing with all my might could lead to frustration and fatigue. It was as though I was fighting against the current of life. Conversely, if I let go completely, it felt like I was standing still, waiting for the universe to drop my dreams in my lap without lifting a finger. Finding a balance between these two forces became my revelation. Action requires courage, the willingness to step forward, to craft the life I envisioned. But surrender demands trust. It asks me to release my tight grip on how things should unfold. It took me time to realize that this balance is not a straight line but a dynamic interplay, much like a dance where I must be both the lead and the follower, guiding my path while also allowing space for unexpected moments of grace. Trusting the outcomes of our efforts can feel daunting. I remember when I poured my heart and soul into a project that seemed destined to succeed. I envisioned every detail and worked tirelessly, yet the outcome was entirely different from what I had hoped. This experience taught me a profound lesson in trust. Every effort is a step towards something greater, even if I cannot see it. I learned to celebrate the act of doing, the commitment to my dreams, while also accepting that the results may not match my expectations. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, often has a way of redirecting our paths, leading us to better opportunities than we could have imagined. Embracing this uncertainty provides a freedom that comes from understanding the greater picture. Trust becomes a potent ally, reminding us that each journey has its unique timeline, and sometimes we're merely part of a larger narrative. The key takeaway is to engage in the necessary actions while also cultivating a mindset of openness and trust. As you move forward, allow yourself to be present in each effort, but don't forget to step back occasionally, breathe, and let the universe work its magic. Practicing this balance involves regularly checking in with yourself to discern if you are striving too hard or if you're trying to control everything around you. A useful technique is to set intentions without rigid expectations. Focus on what you can control, your actions, your mindset, and your responses, while letting go of how the outcome should look. This not only empowers you, but also paves the way for unexpected joys that can come from surrendering to the process. The lasting rewards of letting go: peace, joy, and fulfillment. Letting go of control often feels like stepping off the edge of a cliff. The first sensation is one of fear, the fear of uncertainty and the unknown. However, as I released my grip on the need to control every aspect of my life, I found myself floating in a space of unexpected peace. It was as if the burdens I had been carrying for so long began to lift, allowing me to breathe freely for the first time. The constant stress of planning and worrying faded into the background, replaced by a calm acceptance of what is and what will be. Each time I chose to let go, I discovered that life had a rhythm of its own, one that flowed gently as long as I didn't fight against it. In this newfound freedom, I began to appreciate the beauty of spontaneity, letting life unfold without the heavy weight of my expectations. Embracing the habit of surrender was like unlocking a hidden treasure trove of joy and fulfillment. I found myself surrendering to moments of simplicity, an unexpected breeze on a warm day, the sound of laughter among friends, or even the quiet stillness of a morning with a cup of tea. Joy blossomed in these ordinary experiences when I learned to stop seeking happiness in outcomes, and instead began to find it in the current moment. Fulfillment wrapped around me like a warm blanket during these simple yet profound moments. I realized that life doesn't require grand gestures. It thrives in authenticity and openness. As I stood back and allowed life to take the lead, I discovered the magic of connection, whether with people, nature, or my own spirit. I began to understand that fulfillment lies not in accumulation or achievement, but in presence, a rich tapestry woven from threads of gratitude, acceptance, and love. To cultivate peace and fulfillment in your own life, start by practicing small acts of letting go. Identify one area where you feel the need to control and consciously choose to release it. Allow yourself to be open to whatever comes next, and you'll likely find that beauty often emerges in the unexpected. Gaining everything by letting go. Reflecting on the journey of surrender and its transformative power. Surrender is a recurring theme throughout this book, and it carries profound insights that have shaped my understanding of personal growth. Throughout our narrative, we explored how letting go of control can lead to unexpected liberation. The stories shared illustrated moments of vulnerability, where the act of surrender revealed hidden strengths and pathways for deeper connections with ourselves and others. Recognizing the pivotal lessons, embracing uncertainty, trusting the process, and finding peace amidst chaos has been central to this journey. Each chapter ultimately painted a picture of the courage it takes to step back, acknowledge our limitations, and allow life to unfold in its own way, often leading us to more remarkable destinations than we could have planned for ourselves. Transformation is not just a concept to ponder, but a reality that each of us experiences in our lives, often in ways that are starkly personal. I encourage you to reflect on your own journey and consider how moments of surrender have impacted your path. Perhaps you've encountered situations where your tight grip on an outcome only led to frustration and disappointment. In those moments, there lies an invitation to reconnect with the essence of who you are. Think back to a time when you chose to let go. Maybe it was a career you left behind or a relationship that no longer served you. Notice how those choices paved the way for new opportunities, growth, and understanding. Recognizing your own transformative journey can empower you to embrace the next chapter of your life. It's about evolving with grace and resilience. Transformation often emerges from the willingness to surrender to what is, inviting us to trust the unknown. As you reflect on your experiences, take a moment to celebrate the small victories of letting go, for they are the real indicators of growth. Practicing mindfulness can further enrich this process. Try observing your thoughts without judgment when faced with uncertainty. Embrace those moments and recognize that surrender is not the end, but the beginning of a profound transformation, where new insights and possibilities await. A reminder that surrender isn't about giving up, it's about opening up. Surrender is often mistaken for weakness or defeat. Many of us grow up with the idea that we must always fight, strive, and hold on to our grips tightly, as if our lives depended on it. I once believed that surrendering meant waving a white flag, conceding to circumstances that I felt were beyond my control. It took time and reflection for me to understand that true surrender is not synonymous with giving up. It's the opposite. It's a conscious choice to let go of resistance and control, allowing ourselves to embrace the flow of life. In this way, surrender becomes a powerful act of courage. It takes strength to face the unknown and to accept that we cannot always dictate the course of our lives. I learned that surrendering is about releasing our tightly held expectations and opening ourselves up to possibilities that we might not have considered. In this light, surrender can be a release, not a retreat, and it invites us to discover the freedom that comes with acceptance. To cultivate this practice of surrender and openness, consider starting with small steps. Begin by setting aside a few moments each day for quiet reflection. Identify areas of your life where you feel a tight grip and consciously release that tension. Write down your thoughts or share them with someone you trust. This small act can be a powerful first step toward embracing the deeper, more expansive experiences that lie ahead. Embrace the strength of surrender and watch your life transform in ways you never imagined. Taking the leap into surrender requires courage, much like stepping into the unknown. I remember the first time I consciously chose to let go. Life had thrown its fair share of challenges my way, and I felt overwhelmed by the constant pressure to control everything. It dawned on me that perhaps the struggle itself was the problem. As I started to practice surrender, I discovered an incredible shift in my perspective. Rather than fighting against the currents of life, I began to flow with them. It wasn't always easy, especially when deep-seated fears and insecurities bubbled to the surface. But through this practice, I learned to welcome those feelings as part of the journey. Surrendering didn't mean giving up. Instead, it meant releasing the grip of expectation and trusting the process. I actively started small, letting go of the need to decide every little detail of my day. This included allowing myself to be present, to experience moments without plotting the future or controlling the outcome. Each time I surrendered, I felt a lightness and freedom that was liberating, a reminder that I wasn't alone in the chaos of life. As the days turned into weeks, I began to envision a life filled with possibilities that I had once thought were out of reach. Embracing surrender opened my eyes to opportunities that I had been blind to, buried under the weight of my expectations. I could imagine walking down a new path, perhaps one leading to a dream job, a rewarding relationship, or a peaceful state of mind. The vision expanded with the realization that life could be abundant and fulfilling without the relentless need for control. With surrender, I could allow life's natural rhythm to guide me, trusting that the universe was conspiring in my favor. Every time I let go, I created space for new experiences and connections to flow into my life. I could see the vibrant colors of possibility painting my future, each stroke a testament to the strength I gained from surrendering. It was as if I had opened a door to a world of infinite potential, where the only limits were those I placed upon myself. By letting go of the steely grip on my destiny, I discovered that life held surprises, wonders, and adventures waiting just for me. Practicing surrender in daily life transforms not only our experiences, but also our relationships. The act of surrender can foster deeper connections with others, as we learn to accept people as they are rather than as we wish them to be. This acceptance encourages authenticity and vulnerability, paving the way for mutual growth and understanding. At this point, it's important to remind ourselves that surrender does not equate to inaction. It's an active choice to embrace what comes, to respond fully to the world around us without the weight of preconceived notions. The journey of surrender is about finding peace within the chaos and trusting that each moment is precious and worth embracing. As you reflect on your own life, consider where you might begin to practice surrender, perhaps in a small way, like releasing a trivial worry or allowing someone else's perspective to lead the conversation. Tapping into that moment of release can unveil a world of transformation, working wonders beyond your imagination. Practical tools and exercises for surrender. The release ritual, a simple practice for letting go of emotional baggage. Creating a safe space for release begins with setting clear intentions. I remember the first time I attempted a ritual of this kind. I felt lost in my own thoughts, unsure of how to proceed. The first step was to find a quiet place, free from distractions. This could be a corner of your bedroom, a sunny spot in the garden, or even a secluded room in your home. Wherever you choose, it's important that you feel comfortable and secure there. Take a moment to breathe deeply, inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth, feeling the air as it fills your body and leaves again. This simple act centers your mind and prepares you for what's to come. Next, consider what you want to release. It might be a specific memory, a difficult emotion, or even a limiting belief that's been hanging around for too long. Visualize this emotional baggage. See it as a heavy weight on your shoulders. As you get clearer about your intentions, speak them aloud or write them down on a piece of paper. This act solidifies your purpose and clarifies your commitment to the process. When your intentions are set, it's like you're lighting a path forward, guiding you through the emotional landscape toward freedom. With your intentions clear, it's time to delve into the practical steps of the release ritual. Begin by gathering a few objects that resonate with you. This could be a candle to symbolize light and transformation, some stones representing the weight of what you wish to shed, or even pieces of paper where you can express your burdens. I found that incorporating tangible items helps ground the experience and makes the ritual feel more substantial. After you've worked through the visualization, take the paper and write down everything you wish to release. Pour your heart out, express your fears, your disappointments, your regrets, whatever it may be. Once finished, read it aloud and then safely burn the paper in the candle flame, symbolizing the transformation of your pain into something that no longer holds power over you. Finally, take a moment of silence, feeling gratitude for the release and recognizing the space you've created for new, healthier emotions to flow in. Remember, this ritual is not about erasing what has happened, but acknowledging it and making space for healing. As you practice, keep in mind that letting go can be a process that requires patience and kindness to yourself. Make this ritual your own, adapting it to fit your needs, and enjoy the journey toward lighter emotional ground. Breath and trust, a mindfulness exercise for surrendering to the present moment. Breath is our most intimate companion. It follows us from the moment we arrive in this world until the time we leave. Yet, in the hustle and bustle of daily life, our connection to breath often fades into the background unnoticed. I have discovered that when I pause to focus on my breath, I can ground myself amidst the chaos surrounding me. It is as if each inhalation pulls me back into my body, and each exhalation releases the weight of lingering worries. This simple act of breathing slowly and mindfully can transform our experience of the present moment. Deep, conscious breaths serve as a tool for connection, helping to tether our scattered thoughts and racing emotions to the here and now. As I noticed the rhythm of my breath, I felt an expansiveness within myself, a slow unfolding that came from truly inhabiting my body. In moments of anxiety or stress, I found that intentionally deepening my breath calmed my nervous system, creating a space where fear could not touch me. The grounding power of breath reminds us that we are alive, connected, and part of something larger. It teaches us to slow down, to listen to our inner selves, and to anchor our awareness in what is real and present. As I became more attuned to my breath, another essential element emerged: trust. Trust in the flow of life, in the unfolding story that surrounds us. I found that to truly surrender to the present moment, I needed to cultivate a belief that everything is as it should be. This trust does not come easy. It is an organic process that forms from repeated moments of engagement and courage. Mindfulness exercises became my allies in nurturing this trust. One of my favorite exercises is the trust walk. In this practice, I allow myself to be guided by my breath, moving through spaces, both familiar and new, while releasing the urge to control the outcome. I take a few deep breaths, grounding myself, and then step forward. Each step, I let go of expectations, allowing the experience to unfold naturally. As I proceed, I embrace the uncertainty, trusting that whatever I encounter is precisely what I need in that moment. Another exercise that illuminated my path is gratitude journaling. Each evening, I reflect on 3 moments of beauty or joy from my day, reinforcing my trust in life's abundance. By actively acknowledging the good, my perspective shifts, and I learn to flow with life rather than resist it. The combination of breath awareness and trust forms a powerful partnership, inviting me to fully embrace the unfolding journey of existence. Consider incorporating a few minutes of mindful breathing into your daily routine as a stepping stone toward cultivating trust. Notice how the breath grounds you and opens pathways for connection, allowing you to surrender to the present moment. The what's the worst that can happen? Technique: reframing fear and uncertainty. Fear is a powerful beast. It creeps in silently and can paralyze even the most capable individuals. Each time I felt that familiar grip of fear, I used to retreat, hoping it would simply fade away. But one day, I stumbled across a simple yet transformative technique: the what's the worst that can happen technique. By asking myself this question, I explored the depths of my fears directly rather than avoiding them. In those moments, I realized it was not the fear itself that held me back, but my reluctance to face it head-on. The first step in confronting fear is acknowledging its presence. Instead of dismissing my anxieties, I allowed myself to feel them. I pictured the scenarios I dreaded most: public speaking, failure, loss, and thought about what would really happen if those fears came true. Would I crumble into despair? Would the world end? More often than not, I discovered that the consequences were not as catastrophic as my imagination had made them out to be. This realization was liberating. It shifted my focus from succumbing to fear to simply facing it. By confronting my fears directly, I found a power in vulnerability. When I stopped letting fear linger in the shadows, it lost its grip on me. This technique of reframing fear can be applied in various aspects of life, from personal goals to professional endeavors. The most crucial part is harnessing the power of perspective to dismantle the barriers that fear builds. Be willing to ask the tough questions, sit with your fears for a moment, and remember to turn your focus towards what you might gain, rather than what you might lose. Each fear faced and reframed is a step toward growth and resilience, paving the way for a more fulfilling life. What areas of your life are you clinging to most tightly? We often grip certain parts of our lives with an iron fist, reluctant to let go even when it weighs us down. I invite you to take a moment where it's just you and your thoughts, and reflect on what you instinctively cling to the most. Perhaps it's a job that no longer fulfills you, a relationship that has soured, or even a dream that feels out of reach. What are the emotions tied to these areas? Fear of failure? A longing for stability? As I navigated through those phases of discomfort, I learned that identifying these cling points isn't just about pinpointing what's holding you back. It's about revealing the fear that lies beneath. Acknowledge those areas where the grip feels more like a struggle. Look at your life like a garden and scrutinize the weeds that are choking the flowers. Sometimes we become so accustomed to these burdens that we forget they exist, hiding in the corners of our experience. Recognizing where we cling tightly can be a paradoxical journey, filled with both dread and liberation. When I finally admitted to myself that I was holding on too fiercely, it felt like I had lifted a weight from my shoulders. Admission is the first step towards creating space. This space doesn't just mean a physical decluttering. It invites a mental and emotional release that opens new pathways. Imagine surrendering to change rather than resisting it. When we allow ourselves to breathe in the openness that accompanies release, we make room for new opportunities, relationships, and experiences. My journey taught me that letting go does not equate to loss. Instead, it paves the way for growth. To begin this process, consider starting small. Maybe it's clearing out a closet, unsubscribing from emails that clutter your inbox, or shifting your perspective on a stubborn thought. Every action in the direction of surrender creates waves of change, making space for something extraordinary to emerge. Pay attention to how you feel as you navigate these changes. Journaling can be an incredible tool for tracking your emotions, helping you articulate thoughts that may feel jumbled. This practice not only deepens self-understanding, but also leads you toward a life that feels more aligned with who you truly are. How would your life change if you surrendered control in those areas? Imagining what life could be like if I just let go of the need to control everything fascinates me. The thought of surrendering control can seem daunting, but when I allow myself to visualize it, I can see how liberating it could be. Picture waking up each day with a sense of lightness, free from the weight of expectations and the pressure to manage every detail. I can imagine stepping into the world more openly, welcoming experiences instead of fearing them. I see myself embracing spontaneity, whether it's accepting an invitation to a last-minute trip or trying something completely new. This mental shift opens up a landscape filled with possibilities. The thought that I could forge deeper connections with people and engage more fully in the moment without the constant distraction of planning every second is exhilarating. Surrendering control allows life to unfold in surprising ways, presenting opportunities for growth and joy that I might have previously overlooked. Just the idea of relinquishing control fills me with hope and curiosity about what new paths could emerge. Making the move towards surrendering control involves small, intentional steps. It begins with becoming aware of the areas where I tend to grip tightly. I can start by identifying specific situations that trigger my need for control. For instance, if it's planning every facet of an event, maybe I can delegate some tasks to others or even experiment with the uncertainty of not having a carefully laid out plan. I can practice mindfulness, taking a moment to breathe and remind myself that things may not go exactly as I envisioned, and that's perfectly okay. Each step taken towards letting go can feel vulnerable, yet empowering. Writing down my fears around surrendering can help me process those thoughts, reframing them from obstacles into insights. As I learn to trust the process, I can also engage in conversations with friends or mentors who embrace a more relaxed approach, allowing their spontaneity to inspire me. This shift is not about relinquishing responsibility. Rather, it's about inviting flexibility and grace into my life. A practical tip I've found helpful is to embrace uncertainty as a friend rather than an enemy. I can start small by trying to go with the flow in low-stakes situations, like picking a restaurant without researching menus or letting someone else take the lead in planning an outing. Recognizing that not everything needs to be perfect can be a game changer. Accepting imperfections and the mysteries of life can enrich my experience, offering a fresh lens through which to see challenges. As I learn to release control gradually, I may find that life becomes a beautiful adventure, one where each moment flows naturally into the next, filled with unexpected joys and opportunities for growth. What has resistance cost you, and what might surrender bring you? Reflecting on the cost of resistance often reveals how much I've sacrificed in my efforts to hold on tightly to situations, relationships, or beliefs that no longer served me. I remember a time in my life when every ounce of my energy was devoted to fighting against the tide. Every moment was filled with a sense of urgency, anxiety, and an overwhelming need to control outcomes. I wasn't just resisting change, I was resisting clarity and truth. In stubbornly clinging to what was familiar, I found myself losing precious things, like joy, peace, and authentic connections with others. The tension became a weight that pressed down on me, making it difficult to breathe and see the possibilities. It cost me friendships and moments of happiness, as I replaced genuine laughter with worry. The personal costs were steep. My body was tense, my mind was chaotic, and my spirit felt trapped. The more I fought against the current, the more isolated I became, convinced that surrendering was a sign of weakness. Yet this was a mirage, an illusion that masked the true cost of my resistance. Considering the potential gains that might come through surrendering brings a refreshing perspective. I discovered that when I let go of the need to control everything, new opportunities emerged unexpectedly. I found that surrendering wasn't about giving up. It was about acceptance, fluidity, and aligning myself with the flow of life. The first time I truly surrendered, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. It was as if I had been stuck in a narrow hallway and finally stepped into a vast open space filled with light and possibility. Surrendering allowed me to embrace uncertainty, which opened doors I never knew existed. I felt a newfound sense of freedom and clarity. My relationships began to deepen as I was able to listen and connect authentically instead of through the lens of my own fears. This shift infused my life with freshness, creativity, and a sense of adventure. Rather than feeling constricted, I began to thrive, discovering talents and joys that had long been buried under layers of resistance. Affirmations for surrender. I trust the process of life. Trust is more than just a word. It's a feeling that courses through our veins when we let go of control. I remember standing at the edge of uncertainty, staring into the vast unknown, and realizing that surrendering to life's rhythms was not a sign of weakness, but a profound act of faith. It was in these moments that I discovered how trust lays the groundwork for everything else. When I allowed myself to trust the process of life, I realized that the universe is often conspiring in my favor, orchestrating events in ways that I couldn't always see at the time. Embracing trust meant letting go of the need to have everything planned out, to control every twist and turn. Instead, I began to recognize that life unfolds in mysterious ways, weaving a tapestry of experiences that shape who we are. With every challenge I faced, every unexpected detour, I learned that the more I surrendered to the process, the more beautifully things began to align. It was as if each setback was a stepping stone, guiding me toward greater understanding and resilience. Surrendering does not mean passivity. It means actively choosing to trust that each moment is part of a greater design. Incorporating daily affirmations into my life transformed my relationship with trust. I started repeating, "I trust the process of life," each morning, allowing these words to settle into my mind and heart. This simple act grounded me, reminding me that regardless of what challenges lay ahead, I would navigate them with grace. Affirmations became my anchor. They were a reminder that trust must be cultivated like a garden, nurtured daily with intention and care. You can easily weave this affirmation into your routine as well. Whether you say it in the shower, jot it down in a journal, or let it roll around in your mind while you sip your morning coffee, make it yours. Let it resonate through your actions. When obstacles arise, pause and reaffirm your trust in the journey. Practice becomes its own form of trust building, reinforcing the belief that life has a way of guiding us exactly where we need to go. As you embrace this affirmation, Allow it to become a mantra that reassures you, leading you toward a life enriched with purpose and trust. Consider creating a small ritual around this affirmation. Each time you say it, visualize what trusting the process looks like for you. Picture the doors that open when you surrender your fear and embrace faith. Let this practice root you deeply in the understanding that life, in all its complexities, is a dance that we are invited to participate in, rather than a series of tasks to control. I release what no longer serves me. It took a long time for me to fully grasp the weight of the burdens I was carrying. The first step in releasing what no longer serves us is recognizing those invisible chains that drag us down. I began to look inward, asking myself tough questions. What thoughts replay in my mind, draining my energy? Which relationships feel like a constant struggle, rather than a support? I started writing down the things that made my heart heavy: regrets, fears, toxic friendships, and limiting beliefs. Articulating these burdens provided me with clarity. Each word was a revelation, helping me to see that some struggles were not mine to bear. When I expressed my thoughts and feelings on paper, I could observe them more objectively, identifying patterns that hindered my growth. I realized that knowing what holds us back is the first step toward letting it go. It's about empowerment, taking a moment of introspection to distinguish between what enriches our lives and what simply weighs us down. With my burdens now clearer in my mind, I found myself ready to engage in the empowering practice of letting go. One exercise that resonated with me involved visualization. I would sit quietly, close my eyes, and imagine gathering all the things I wanted to release. In my mind, this could be as simple as placing them in a box, labeling it with the reasons they held me back, and then setting that box on a river or at the edge of a cliff. Watching it drift away or tumble down gave me a tangible sense of liberation. Another technique I found helpful was practicing gratitude. Each day, I would write down 3 things I appreciated about my life and 3 things I wanted to release. This process not only helped me focus on the positive aspects, but also created a space for transformation. It reminded me that it's possible to let go and still grow. Through each exercise, I was reminded of my own strength and resilience, learning that letting go doesn't mean losing. It means creating room for the new and the beautiful in my life. As you embark on your own journey of letting go, consider incorporating daily rituals into your routine. Whether it's a short meditation, journaling your thoughts, or simply taking a few deep breaths focusing on releasing tension, these practices can become nurturing habits. They remind us that releasing what no longer serves us is not just a one-time event, but a continuous process of self-discovery and growth. Letting go opens the door to peace and possibility. Letting go can feel like stepping into a vast unknown, yet it is often the first step toward discovering new possibilities. I remember moments in my life when the weight of expectation felt unbearable. I was clinging to dreams that didn't serve me, holding tightly to plans that no longer made sense. Surrendering helped me realize that in letting go, I was not losing something. Instead, I was creating space for new opportunities to emerge. When we release our grip on the familiar, we unshackle our minds and hearts from the constraints that keep us stagnant. This surrender can be a powerful act of faith, opening up channels that allow us to explore paths we could never have imagined while we were tightly wound in the throes of expectation. It is in this state of openness that the unexpected often brushes against us, kissing us with fresh ideas and renewed energy, reminding us that life is always in motion. Encouragement to explore new avenues often comes when we embrace the discomfort of uncertainty. The moments of stillness after letting go are fertile grounds for exploration. We may find ourselves drawn to interests that once seemed foreign or even intimidating. The other day, I discovered an art class that I never would have considered before. After surrendering my attachment to other commitments, I felt free to flow into this new creative space. It was exhilarating to meet people who shared a different perspective, to engage in conversations that expanded my view of the world. It's important to allow yourself to take those small steps into the unfamiliar territory. Seeking new experiences, meeting new people, or even picking up old hobbies can breathe life back into us. Each new venture is an invitation to discover layers of our own selves that we've yet to unearth, waiting patiently for us to dive into the vast ocean of possibility. The beauty of letting go is that it paves the way for exploration and allows us to transform our lives. As you navigate through the winding roads of change, remember that peace often lies just beyond the threshold of surrender. Don't be afraid to embrace the discomfort that comes with new beginnings. Challenge yourself to say yes to invitations and moments that intrigue you, however daunting they may seem. Following your curiosity can lead to unexpected joys, reminding you that the universe is indeed filled with possibilities just waiting to be uncovered. Allowing flow and spontaneity into your life can blossom into profound transformations. The next time you feel the pull of uncertainty, lean into it. Instead of resisting, surrender to the possibilities that lie ahead. Surrender isn't a one-time decision, it's a lifelong practice. It's choosing, moment by moment, to let go of what we can't control, to trust the unfolding of life, and to meet each experience with openness rather than resistance. By now, you've seen how surrender is woven into every part of life. It's in our relationships, where releasing expectations allows love to flourish. It's in our goals, where focusing on effort instead of outcomes brings unexpected success. It's in our emotional healing, where accepting our feelings instead of fighting them leads to transformation. The greatest paradox of all is this: in letting go, we don't lose, we gain. We gain peace when we stop clinging to the past. We gain joy when we stop fearing the unknown. We gain strength when we let ourselves be vulnerable. We gain clarity when we stop forcing outcomes. So, as you move forward from this audiobook, I leave you with this question. What would happen if you stopped resisting and simply let go? What doors might open? What peace might you find? What might you gain by finally surrendering the things you were never meant to control? Trust the process. Embrace the flow. And watch as life unfolds in ways you never imagined. Thank you for listening, and may the strength of surrender guide you always.